Recording alert. We're recording. Okay. All right. So it's almost 9. We wait 30 seconds. 9 o'clock, my time. Almost nobody on this call is on my time. I think I'm the only one. I will try to not hit that like I always do, which Sahaja says is very annoying to all of you. I think mostly her. Okay. Rowan, how are you, Rowan? Good. From UK, yeah? Lovely governor. Hello, Sylvia. Swiss. Everybody from everywhere. I love this. This didn't exist when I first started teaching. Now you get to see the whole world in one shot. It's wild. Maybe you only had that with your third eye before. If you do, then you're better than me. Okay, 9 o'clock it has hit here. So some hour or a half hour in your world has hit. So we shall begin. Thank you for joining. I'm Dharma Bodhi for people if we've never met before. I see many new faces. So nice to meet you. Today, I wanted to do a short talk or long, depending how it goes, based on question answer length. Mostly a live discussion after a short intro on what is a healer. And that is specifically because we have a program that's launching soon on the body of light healing, which is pretty much the summary of my journey through all the different healing modalities I learned through my work as a healthcare practitioner my whole life, to try to give people a good profession. I'd like to give people a good profession with this who are Dharma practitioners. It supported me. Primarily, I was a Dharma practitioner. Pretty much from minimum 12 years old, I knew what I was going to do. I stated it to my family. They freaked out, of course. Leaving the church, I'm doing this. They're like, oh my God. So, but I had a very keen interest in health, fitness, and healing as a kid. And I guess for this crowd, this might not be too much of a far out thing, or maybe we'll use this as a way to sort out whether you should do this program or not. When I say this, but my later teachers, three of my great masters who could see beyond time and space a bit, said that I was about 70% of my great grandmother's essence was in me in this incarnation. And my great grandmother was a very famous and a very powerful by all accounts. I never met her because she was dead before I was born, and that's how she got in me, I guess. She was a great shaman, a really great shaman, a German woman. So her shamanism came from Germany. So I know some of you Deutschers are here and you're like, what? We had shamans? Yeah, of course you had shamans. Everybody had shamans. And so, yeah, that's what we're going to, this course is very grounded in shamanism, very grounded in Tantra, in the healing methods of Tantra, but very grounded. It's not very far out. So what I said might sound far out, but after we do enough personal spiritual practice, we discover that's not a very far out concept at all. We have ancestors dwelling within us as us. We think it's us. But it was shocking to see that a number of my teachers, without me ever telling my family history, were able to tell me this without asking them. One of my teachers had completely freaked out because I was supposed to be following the men's path of healing in his shamanism. And I showed a lot more aptitude for the women's side of it. And it freaked him out. He's a bit old school. Not very woke. So anyway, here we are. What is a healer? We could start with that, but I think it's better to start with what is healing. So along my journey, which included academia with a undergrad degrees or almost degrees, I should say. I transferred out before I finished them in biochemistry and genetics, but I had the hours to get the degrees. I went into chiropractic college after that. And while I was in chiropractic college, I was pursuing things on the side, like Japanese acupuncture, Chinese medicine, a number of esoteric healing things from Sufism and this and that, all kinds of stuff. So all along this journey, and continued all into Ayurveda and Mahasiddha medicine, all kinds of stuff. All along that journey, I slowly started to understand and formulate what was sort of being demonstrated for me all the time, but nobody was really saying it until I met one doctor, and he said, you have curing and you have healing, and there's a huge distinction between the two. And the lights went on. The lights, everything just went, okay, now I get it. Now I get it. This is what I've been looking for. Someone who's speaking this language. You can cure people of things. That, to me, in definition, is to make the organism, the purely physical organism, better able to live longer and get more use out of life. That's what I would say curing is, right? Maybe you've got HIV, but you're taking a cocktail of drugs and you're going to live longer than you would have if you didn't have those drugs, but you're going to die earlier than you would if you didn't have the virus, etc. I know, controversial topic. Is there really the virus doing this, AIDS or not? Leave that out of it in this example. So that would be curing, right? You got a myocardial infarction. What is that? Heart attack. And you get taken into the ER and they quickly fix you up for whatever you need, some stents or something, and you live. This is curing. So anytime we fix up the physical body, the physical vehicle, we can call this curing. And then if we understand that healing something different, we look at the cured person and we think, are they healed though? Are they whole? Healing, to be whole. Are they whole? This is a whole different story. And to put it in perspective, it may make sense if I say to you, I'm not as concerned as to whether I'm cured by certain conditions I have and whether I have to die early, not living my allotted years, as we say in Tantra and Taoism. I'm more concerned that I die whole, that I'm healed when I die, right? This makes sense because we have much more to us than physical body. If you are practicing in Trikamasiddha Yoga, you'll know that we have the 10 forces as one of our most important theories on the first level, the Atma Shakti level or Nirmanakaya level of practice and cycles of teachings. And these 10 forces talk about how to maintain our life in a good way and to be whole. So life force is included in there as one of the 10 forces. I absolutely have to have prana, lung, chi, whatever you want to call it. You got to have life force, ojas, etc. But there's so many other forces that make us up. And if we're deficient in what we call light force, L-I-G-H-T, Licht, light force, then we will not really accumulate any merit, ever become wisdomful and centered in our own being and able to enjoy life truly as it really is. We'll always be operating out of delusion. And dying that way is to die in delusion. There's no healing there. There's no wholeness. Nobody wants this. I hope nobody wants this. And there's other forces we have to attend to that really are important for our spiritual wholeness, right? Our well-being. This is healing, right? Whenever we can, we love to live longer, more usefully, more youthfully, more vibrantly, more vigorous. We'd love all these things, more vital. But if we are not healed, if we're not whole, those things are very empty, extremely empty. And I don't mean empty as shunya, a good thing. I mean empty. I mean nihilistically empty of any value. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but let's just laying out these ground rules and verbalizing what we often don't verbalize, even though we're all working in this way. So it's important to, as one of my great teachers said, tell everybody what they know already. Because when you tell everybody what they know already, it hits home. When you try to teach them new stuff, they come back and say, what was that? So I tell you what you know already. Well, your teachers know what I mean. And we know this. We know this in our heart of hearts. I've seen many people with very bad diseases, so-called bad diseases. I don't really have these categories of good or bad diseases in my mind, but I'll speak the normal vernacular. Bad diseases, cancer and heart disease, and really horrible things, HIV. And I've seen them go down in a bad way and in a good way. And I've seen people who die complete and whole with those things and feel fantastic. We can use hyperbolic examples of like the Karmapa, right? The last Karmapa before this new set of double Karmapas. Karmapa is the head of the Karmakagyu lineage, a great Mahasiddha that keeps taking reincarnation to continue his lineage and help his students and everyone else. I'm not his student, but I benefit from his teachings as well, right? And his presence in that previous incarnation. Don't know about the new guys yet. But he decided, or let nature decide, whatever, that he would die in Illinois, USA, outside Chicago. And he died in a hospital there. And how he died was from cancers and all kinds of things. Supposedly, now here's the other part. We'll get into this in the healing discussion more, maybe. A very important understanding of death is that it only has one cause. When you train to be a healer in shamanism, or you train to be a healer, especially in Tantra and Taoism, the only cause of death is birth. There's no other cause of death. The Karmapa shows us that more than anything else in this example. So I'm really grateful that a modern master decided to demonstrate this to the public by dying publicly in a hospital, and doing so in an extraordinary way that you may have heard of, where one day they would go in and do all the tests on him and he's got his tumors and they're killing him. Blood dyscrasias, all kinds of things he had going on. He's laying there all frail in bed, softly smiling, but, can barely speak. He's got labored breathing. Yeah. And then everyone's saying their goodbyes. It's like, this is it. He's gone. Tomorrow morning we'll come in. He'll be dead. Students leave the hospital, come back. Next morning, they come in to Rinpoche sitting up in bed, watching cartoons, eating his cereal. They brought him, hi, come on in, like totally vigorous. Doctors brought in to reassess. Tumors are now down to 1/10 of the size they were. Blood's almost normal, blah, 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 blah. For oxygen perfusion, all these different parameters we're checking. Fine. They don't know why, scratching their head. They're freaking out. Apparently, I know somebody who was with him when he died here, and he said, yeah, the room would just be like a constant line of people coming in, just like looking in, damn, not understanding what's going on. Now, he did this. The next day, he would wake up cancerous, dead, dying, and then the next day he'd be, hey, come and have my tapioca pudding with me here in hospital. That's big in American hospitals. And so he did this, and he showed that the only cause of death is birth, really. He was in complete control of this process had he wanted to, because he's a stage 10 Siddha, Mahasiddha, out of our 12 stages, right? He was living stage 9 and 10 almost all the time in the presence of everybody. So he played with this. He played with this whole thing so that people could see this is not what we think it is. That was the key. So when we talk about what is healing, that's being whole. That's being healed. Do we need to be enlightened? No, but we certainly would like to be deeply moving into our connection to our essential nature. Having glimpses, understanding, developing confidence and faith through the practice, and seeing even the minor results of our practices. This will make us whole. And then we're healed. Whether you get cured or not, that's another story. And certainly we're going to deal with that in the Body of Light healing program. Certainly, I'll never say I healed people. So now we're going into what is a healer. If you say I healed someone, you're the dumbest person in the universe. So right up. And if you have healer on your little, I'm probably going to lose 3/4 of the people on this thing right now. But if you have on your Facebook thing, the selfie of you, smudging the universe for no obvious reason, and then saying, I'm a healer, this course is going to be a hard journey for you. But if you're ready to let go of that false view, then feel free to join us. We'd love to have you. Because you haven't healed anybody of anything, not even a wart. Okay. Not even a wart. If you have a wart on your finger and you put this stuff in America, compound W on it, basically liquid salicylic acid, it dries it out and it falls off. So did the medicine heal it? No. This is a discussion we had, a beautiful lecture, first day, first class, first semester, first day with our philosophy teacher in chiropractic college. Dr. DiGiacomo up in heaven, wherever you are in the Bardos, thank you. The man was amazing. And he said, if you do this with the wart and the wart falls off, did you heal it? Are you the healer? No. Did the medicine heal it? So if you have an infection, you take antibiotics. Did the antibiotics heal it? No, they didn't. No, they did, Dharma. I'd die without it. You probably die without it, but did they heal it? No. What healed it? Well, if I take a slab of meat, beef, and I slice it, and I put antibiotics in the slice, and I sew it all up, I put it in my fridge, I check it in a few weeks. Is it all healed up now? Obviously not. Right? Obviously not. Because the medicine doesn't do the healing. Your work with your hands, your mind doesn't do the healing. The person's own essential nature does the healing based on their nadi, based on what is supposed to happen in their experience. We do not heal people, okay? We create an environment and a context where physical curing can occur, where physical curing can occur, and where healing is most apt to occur. We create an environment as a healer, right? But I never called myself a healer once in my life, and I never said I healed anybody. I just never had that hubris or ignorance since I was young. I knew nature is the only healer. Your body is the only thing that can heal you. All you have to do is talk to your friends who are medical doctors who have worked in, weird different departments of the hospital where people die from strange things. They'll throw everything in the kitchen sink at them and they should get better, but the body refuses it, rejects it, dies, So confirm your speaking language. What is this thing? Sounds like you might have switched to a different language. Let me fix this here. My speaking language.
No, it should be English.
They don't have mine. It says there's no love. Okay, I'll do English. So, so I'm not a healer. You're not a healer. None of us are healers. Nature is the healer. That's all there is to it. Now, if you have that a view of life and you understand that within the great cycles, within cycles of time and space in nature, and you want to learn how you can be an intermediary between the greater cycles of nature that perform healing and curing. And you want to be that intermediary for that person whose nadi, whose way in life and purpose in life is on hold with physical, spiritual illness. And you wish to create the context where that person can rediscover their nadi, where the body can get the green light to heal. And yes, it boils all the way down to the chemistry and the epigenomes and everything getting switched on to heal. We're not saying the physical doesn't exist. We're not saying cause effect doesn't exist. For understanding the proper relationship where you fit within that cause and effect of that patient, client, and their healing and their curing. This is a brief understanding of what I mean by healing and curing and what is a healer. So what is a healer? A person who knows that they don't affect the change, a person who knows that they help, they facilitate and assist, creating an environment wherein that person's nature, essential nature, as expressed through their nadi, is extended, is strengthened, where they can find joy in life again, live happy and joyful, even if there's some organic tissue damage that will continue with them the rest of their lives, right? That's okay. So this is what healing and a healer is in a nutshell. So just briefly, we're launching this program, Body of Light Healing, and it's been many, many years in people requesting, can we learn this shamanism from you? Can we learn, because Tantra has all the shamanism in it, right? So I've always wanted to teach it, but it wasn't any good to teach it to 3 people at a time. Taking 10 years for each group of 3 people would be too time consuming. I had other Dharma to teach. So now we're in a position with a lot of people worldwide who are into healing and really understand it as part of the path of Dharma, as part of the path of many Dharma practitioners. Okay, that this works. We really can run this program now. And I also felt very strongly that it was really great for me to have these skill sets, because every time I wanted to just pull back in a retreat, I would just do retreat. When I come back out, I would immediately just put up a photocopied flyer somewhere. I can fix what you got here, stick it on the wall at the health food shop, and immediately get to work again. So it was a way to finance my journey through life as well, which was really great. And then I think a lot of the students who are spiritual types today really struggle with finding career. We have all these problems today with finding careers as we're slowly getting phased out of humans being needed for jobs and so on. And jobs not, like in America here, jobs not paying enough to survive. That's a really weird situation where you can't earn enough to survive with a job. It's crazy. I'm sure some of you over there on the screen here are experiencing the same thing in your country. So it's good to have something that pays well and you're really helping people. You're doing your nadi, you're doing the Dharma and really helping people. That's a beautiful thing. Okay. So this program is going to run in 2 fashions. For the first year, 2, 3, I can't remember. Sarva Premise here. She can wave to everybody there. She's going to help me with the things I don't know about the structure. I know, but I can't remember. It's 2 years, right? Open first for 2 years?
Yeah, 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3,
Yeah.
right? Because we have to see. So for 2 to 3 years, the program will be open, meaning not closed to apprenticeship. And during those 2 or 3 years, I will offer a number of trainings, some of them twice, maybe even 3 times, just to call and get the group of people that are like, okay, I get it. This is in my nadi. I want to go deeper into learning the healing arts of shamanism, tantra, and direct realization, these 3 levels with many arts in each one of the levels. And I want to do this in apprenticeship form because I know that's the only way you become masterful in this. Because the only way you become, and I'm just going to tell you straight up, the only way you're going to become masterful as a person that is trying to assist others healing and physical curing is to apprentice. It won't happen from courses and you go out and figure it out yourself. I'm talking about masterful. And the other reason I never really taught anybody was I'm a perfectionist when it comes to the Dharma and it comes to this. And if you're not ready to master it, I don't want to train you. That's all there is to it. If you're ready to master, it's like I am with Kung Fu. I've trained how many people in Kung Fu? Only 2 teachers in my whole life. I've been teaching Kung Fu since my early 20s. Actually, literally since 18 was when my teacher gave me my first school in East 6th Street in New York City. But at that time, I was so young, I would never have the hubris to try to say, oh, I trained a teacher. But within 6 or 8 years, I was qualified to train other teachers, but I never graduated a teacher except 2. My son's just a junior teacher, not even full yet. My other student, George Allerts in Australia, is a full teacher. He's really masterful. Why? Yeah, because he's masterful. He's too shy to say he's a master, but he's a master. I'll say it for him. We only want mastery because when we start playing around with healing, this is why I don't like people playing around with healing on the Facebook ads and the whole neo whatever world out there. You can't say neo tantra anymore. It's neo healer, neo shaman, neo tantra. It's a bunch of neos, right? So when you start to play around with people who are ill spiritually, needing healing, excuse me, or physically needed curing or both, you enter a deep karmic matrix that you must take responsibility for yourself. I mean, in your conduct in that matrix. You must be going for 100% mastery, 100% professionalism, because it's no longer about you and your trip. If you do any kind of healing because you want to earn money, I feel very sad for you. Very sad, because that is the wrong motive, and wrong motive, wrong fruit of the practice, and we bind ourselves. Someone comes to me with a problem, example in my mind, I don't know names, a long time ago when I was practicing full time in my clinic in California. A bunch of people brought a guy, and the guy had a lot of mental problems, like self-delusion, psychosis of being enlightened, being like a god, this kind of thing. And obviously that's not healing. He's not whole. He's got mental issues, right? Physically, not so bad. Not so bad at all. So, because you'll see this, and this is part of the course, you'll see that when people get fixated in the God realm, a lot of times for the first 10, 20 years, they have really good physicality. They can actually reverse aging a little bit, all kinds of things, because they're acting more like the God realm, and it affects their physiology. But eventually it'll cause serious problems later. So with this fella, of course, I cared about his spirit more than anything else, but we couldn't reach him on that level because the mind channels were so affected with so much wind that no amount of speaking or discussing or anything would take care of this. I had to apply medicine. Medicine means you're working with the blood chemistry. You're giving some kind of substances, and the range of substances are huge, in through some orifices of the body. That's also dictates the way it'll work. And you get a result in the blood chemistry, and something changes, and there's some rectification towards normal metabolism, normal biochemistry, and the person has some level of curing. So I had to do this first, where I was feeding the herbs through the blood, because this person had become disconnected from the physical so much that the physical was just so messed up by the wind that was being generated in his mind channels. So we did that, and then the person started to get grounded, which was really wonderful. So first, the health parameters changed. The pulses were changing, and the health parameters were changing. He was slowly grounding out. Once his mind had, the wind was down enough in his mind, he could actually hear what I was giving him as advice about life, about spirituality, and not go, whoop, you see? So you can't go right to spiritual healing. If I whipped out the old crystals and the crystal ball and did all the sonic gong and did, all that stuff you Neo people do, it would have no effect except put him more in the God realm and confirm that he was a God, in this case. So we used the physical as well. Of course, this is important as a component. Everything comes forward: physical, spiritual, energetic, everything, mental. But it took a while for this to happen and to reach this guy. And then the deeper healing could take place, right? And then we went in with deep healing like this, you see? So, I mean, if I was not trained for so long and had so many apprenticeships, my point here is that with this example is that I would not have known what to do with this guy. I would not have known what to do. And I wouldn't have gotten any results at all. I would not have been able to assist his healing powers of groundedness and self-rectification to come back. So we're looking for mastery. Now, the first 2 or 3 years of this program are going to be open, so you can take various courses that are all at the intro level and say, I like where this program's going. I dig the kind of shamanism he does. I don't do ayahuasca shamanism, though I was trained as an ayahuasquero in 1988, way before it was popular at parties. People didn't even know what the word meant. But I do not teach ayahuasca, the path of the ayahuasquero. So there are many things I did learn and become competent in that I won't teach. So you take a few courses in what I'm teaching, and you see the curriculum of what I'm teaching, and you go, oh yeah, okay, I want to do this. Cool. I see how it does take mastery, and I see how being around this cohort of people, apprentices doing this training, increases my skills, increases my knowledge and experience, and I want to do it. And then we have a point, like Cyber Prem said, in 2 or 3 years, once we find the core groups that we want, there might be one in Brazil, there might be one in Europe separate, and sometimes they may come together. I don't know if North America will have one at all. There's no traction for me in my home country whatsoever, maybe because no one knows I'm here. But anyway, once we get enough people in each cohort to make it a good learning experience, we'll cap it, and it'll close down and become apprenticeship style only, where you're going to commit to another 5 to 7 years, I would say minimum. and we would meet in your home continent once or twice a year for somewhere between a 5 to 2 week, 5 to 14-day training, something like that, as well as meeting online as a cohort quite regularly, probably once a month. Yeah. So this is the basic outline of all of it, and this is where it's going to go. We're going to enter at the level of shamanism. I learned shamanism. I have Native American ancestry 7 generations ago. I have an Inuit grandmother on one side and an Ojibwa grandmother on the other side. If you know the Ojibwa, they're like Northern Cherokee or Tsalagi, if you know the native languages. So, yeah, I have this blood as well. And also my German great grandmother shaman is in there. So I got led to many shamans, basically. Native American, because this is where I started here. And then other shamans, Polynesian, Kahuna, and so on, and other traditions like the ayahuasquero and so on and so on. So shamanism is where we'll start. I believe it's really great to start with shamanism when we're going to follow the Body of Light Healing program. It's called Body of Light Healing because we're working directly, we're trying to access the most subtle level of our being. If it can be corrected, if our subtle level of our being can be, its manifestation in this world can be corrected at that base level, then very much everything flows from that. Very much our healing will occur, very much makes possible curing, right? It's not like curing's not possible. Like my grandfather, Thundercloud, Cherokee Twisted Braids medicine man, he lived in New Jersey. I'll skip the long story of how I met him and how I became initiated with him and trained with him, but he was in my home state of Jersey at that time as a kid. And I, as an adult, finally went back to talk to him as an adult and say, I really want to be trained by you. And you know, he was doing these full moon water ritual healings right outside his house in the woods. People would come with the most incredibly difficult diseases, like, you know, huge tumors, cancer, like really going out the door kind of thing, or huge debilitating diseases, neuromusculoskeletal debilitating diseases. What else did we see? People that had chronic congestive heart failure, things that were not going to fix themselves without like heart transplants and stuff. And they were going to die early. Like all this all the time. This was all the time. And Thundercloud would do them what looked to be the simplest kind of ceremony you've ever seen on a full moon with water, and kind of christen the people with the water, bathe them with it, make them drink it. They would sometimes spontaneously throw it up, etc. So you could say, was that exorcism? In a way, if you want that lens of exorcistic shamanism, definitely it was exorcism, exorcising the disease, because a disease is a possessing entity. A disease is not a parameter of a number of signs and symptoms that a Western doctor tells you. That's the idiot path. That's like medicine, let me tell you. I got a lot of friends who are doctors, but medicine has no philosophy running it. And it's moronic and it's super mechanistic. Would I live in a place without a good hospital? No. So wait a minute, Dharma. No, we got to be smart here. There's no philosophy or whatever. But if I'm in the middle of a heart attack, my wife puts me in the car, 15 minutes later, I'm in the emergency room down here. They give me the paddles. I'm back. You know, this is super important to understand. As a philosophy of practice, as an understanding of life, death, process of dying, healing, process of getting better spiritually, and curing, they don't have a clue, right? So Thundercloud would do these ceremonies, and literally the next day we'd get phone calls. Tumors are gone. Literally the next day we get the phone call. Papa's 100%, you know, literally this happened all the time. Now, me, I'll call that person a healer, an agent of grace, a person who has perfected truly the mastery of humility that allows them to become an agent of grace, using all the tools that they've learned in their shamanism or their tantra or whatever they have at whatever level of healing they're applying. Because when you see that, you just go, whoa, you know, right? I had this tumor on my back and I went down to Cuba and I was training in Santeria. That was in like that was early on, 1990, I think. Yeah, 1990, when Americans weren't allowed to go. So I had to sneak down there on my Australian passport. I trained with this man, and I got to the second highest level after I trained with him. But what was really interesting was the very first time he worked on me, the next morning, I didn't have that tumor on my back. And I was like, that was trippy. He didn't touch my back. Killed a few chickens, killed a few pigeons, the Santeria thing, which is why I eventually didn't want to learn Santeria. So there was something I went high in and then said, nah, because at the end, yeah, I eat meat. I don't want to kill the animals, though, for my healing or anyone else's healing. That exchange of someone's life, nadi, even an animal, for someone else's. Yes, that happens when I eat the meat, that exchange. But for the curing, didn't feel right. So I left it. But my tumor popped off, I guess. I don't know. I never found it. So miracle healing like this on a physical level, curing, yes, this can happen. Yes, this does happen and does work. So I think it's important that we embrace that and understand that too. But the first level will be shamanism that we'll teach. And the very first training we're going to teach is the Hawaiian shamanism. Now, shamanism also has levels. Some of the things I'm going to teach in Hawaiian shamanism will not make sense until you train with me in the second level. So if you're in the apprenticeship and you go through the second level, third level, only for people in apprenticeship. So if you get to the second level in the apprenticeship and we go through the principles of tantric healing, real tantra, classical tantra, not neo-tantra, none of this stuff, real tantra, real tantric healing. We go through those principles. We learn how to become a deity to heal people and so on. You're going to see a lot of what I'm going to teach in the very first opening training of the Lomi Lomi training of the Hawaiian shamanism, the hands-on healing of Hawaiian shamanism. You're going to hear that, oh my God, this is in the Lomi. And then what you do at the tantric level is going to make your Lomi Lomi that much more powerful. Same thing on the direct. Why? Because when we take shamanic healing methodologies and say they're all the lower level, because Tantra absorbed them into tantric healing later, we're not doing a real service to that tradition. Now, yes, some shamanic traditions are not very highly developed. That's true. Not everything's equal in the world. Some, however, like the Tselagi, Cherokee, Ojibwa, the Hawaiians, the Tahitians, especially the Hawaiians in my look around, Maoris, yeah, there were some that went very, very high, and their shamanism could not really be kept in, say, a lower category of only working subject to object with the person as shamanic healing happens, and only working with the model of exorcism. The Hawaiians went way beyond that, and I'm so grateful to have learned from 3 great Hawaiians in this way. And I was conferred in 1987 with all the top kahuna, the head kahuna, Honaeli Makua, said in a ceremony and anointed, basically consecrated me as the one who holds Lomi Lomi for all the Hawaiian Islands. And I was a
Sorry,
white guy.
Dharma.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you let Vajradakini in? She was kicked out.
Yeah. And so in that ceremony, Makua made me the basically lineage holder for all Lomi Lomi on this level, on this highest level of shamanism, highest level of what we call tantra and direct. So I know what I'm talking about here when I'm telling you about this Lomi Lomi thing here. I know you go to the Four Seasons Hotel or the Hilton or something in some Bali place, and you can get the Lomi Lomi massage package, 4 hands massage and things like this. Lomi Lomi. That's not Lomi Lomi. That's not what I'm talking about at all. You can go to Auntie Margaret Machado. She's the worldwide famous Lomi Lomi teacher. That's not Lomi Lomi. That's a Christianized version of the Lomi massage, which ruined it and turned it into a good massage by a really nice, compassionate lady. But that's not Lomi Lomi. So no watered down stuff. I don't teach that. So I learned the real thing from Abraham Kavai. And this Lomi Lomi is so profound because it's a way of using your body. Here's why I want to start the training with it. I'll tell you. It's shamanism, but it's shamanism that opens the gate to the much higher levels that we would call tantra and direct realization. because it's in that. The Hawaiians understood that. They were very clear. They knew all about non-duality, everything. They had enlightened beings, they had Mahasiddhas. So this Lomi Lomi is so powerful because it's a body, speech, mind therapy all in one. You're using the body vehicle. You learn dance movements, stepping and leg training of martial artists from Hawaii and dance from Hawaii. You learn prayer and chanting with breath control and the way of using the sound power of mantra, Hawaiian style mantra, and sutra, mantra and sutra from Hawaii. You learn the actual physical movements of the massage with your upper body, which uses very little hands. Hands are used maybe 5% of the time in Lomi Lomi. It's mostly your forearms, your arms. You'll lift the body right up off the table. It's something like you can't imagine. The real thing is something like you can't imagine, and nothing like you got in the hotels for nice relaxation. That's not really Lomi Lomi. Lomi Lomi was practiced in Hawaiian temples, and I've been to the Lomi temples in Hawaii. I know, right? It was made in the temples, and it was to produce a complete transformation in the physical and psychological being. Now I'm going to tell you something that's going to test you now. You know, we all say we're very spiritual until someone says something like this, then you go, nah, that couldn't have happened. Then it's about you. It's really, do you really understand and believe yourself? You still have suspicions and doubts yourself. When I went through this ceremonial initiation with Abraham Kovai on my first Lomi Lomi training with him, I had straight hair. I had really long hair at that time. And it was straight like a hippie, you know, and I had a big beard and long hair. My eyes were blackish brown. Well, I came out of this ceremony, which didn't last more than 3 hours. It was only 3 hours. And my eyes were emerald green, like not even like my teeth, really, really emerald green. I remember I went back to my hut and there was a little cracked mirror on the wall. Someone had nailed a cracked mirror on the wall in this hut. And I looked in my eyes. I was shocked. I was like, I couldn't believe it. They were pure green. I'd never seen that my whole life. They were black brown my whole life. And here's the other weird thing. Now, this is really going to twist your noodle. My hair was curly, like a Orthodox Jew, just like right out of here, all the way down. And what hair that used to go to my ass when it was straight was now halfway up my back because it was all curly. And I'm like, whoa. Now, there's a lot of places you can go with this, and the Hawaiians are very into genetics. Did that trigger my Ashkenazi a little stronger and wrap that hair up? What do you think, Yoav? That stuff can happen. Now, here's the other part. That hair came out of me when that was on my butt. How many years before? How would that ceremony affect my physiology here and now that would make my hair curly? And if I grow my little I have left, as soon as it gets to this level right here, it goes again in tight curls. So these questions are like, outside space and time. So the ceremony took me for sure, my consciousness outside space time. Something happened outside space time. But the beauty of shamanism at this level, which I want to impart with you, is it's not a materialistic view and it's not a spiritual view. It's both as one, really, literally as one. Which is why the Shakta Shaiva Tantrikas from India kept shamanism in its Tantra when they created Tantra. And so did Tibetans, and so did Chinese, et cetera, et cetera. Because there was a healing where I saw all my ancestors. And at that point in my life, I thought my father was a certain man that everyone in my family told me was my father since I was a little boy. Okay? This gets really fun, this story. It explains what we're dealing here today. But I saw a man who looked not like my father at all, the man that was told to be my father. And behind him, I saw another man looking like him that looked quite different, and and all the way back. And it just went like 1,000 people I probably saw, literally. I only saw my male side. I guess that's what needed healing at that moment, right? So all the males. Well, fast forward to, I was 20, what was I, 26? I was 20, 22, 20, 25 or 26 when I trained with Abraham for a few years. And if we fast forward to when I'm 40, I think I was like 41 or something like that. My mother tells me, because she thinks she's dying of cancer, which she didn't at that time, but she did later. She tells me that my father, that I thought was my father, was not my father. And I was like, what? And she said, no, it was this guy. So I go on a journey to find this guy. I find this guy, and he's the guy. He's the guy from the visions. So in this ceremony, the Hawaiians are very much into us waking up our own power by waking up the power of all of our ancestors. They believe our ancestors have great power to give us, great healing gifts, great knowledge, great skills. And certainly I felt whole and different after that, no doubt. I don't think my tantric sadhana with Indian and Tibetan teachers would ever been as good had this not happened. Not to mention, right before I did that, Thundercloud gave me a blessing and said, I pray. He held me in his arms and I felt Shakti moving through me like no transmission I've ever had. And he said, I bless you to find your people, to find your people. I said, we just call him TC, Thundercloud. TC, I know my people. I know my people. And he didn't even say, no, you don't. You'll find them now. He just said, I bless you to find your people. Go find your people. When you find your people in your spiritual work, everything will come for you again. You won't have to feel like you're searching and trying to become some other culture, trying to become some other people. You know, we all want to be like a Native American now, or we all want to be a Hawaiian or whatever. And I was like, huh? And sure enough, that journey came full and brought me all these incredible, great shamanic teachers until I eventually found what my own Germanic shamanic tradition was. And I feel like that came full circle and everything closed up on the shamanic level as a full circle experience. So I want to teach the very first training, I believe September, Sarvaprem, this year.
First 12 days of September, yes.
12 days in September this year in the countryside in France. We're going to take over a beautiful estate and put up 10 massage tables, which are called kuahu, or upright altars in Hawaiian language. I had to learn the language. I had to learn the dance. I had to learn everything. The kuahu is there, and then the person lays on that altar, and then we pray over them, and then we start performing the ritual ceremony of the massage. It's absolutely gorgeous. And you will take them through, you will learn how to take a person through a rite of transformation, because it's literally what the ceremony was designed to do. This is not a normal massage, though, because traditionally there's no time limit. And I have trained with my Toronto group way back in the 80s, late 80s, 90s. We did some 12-hour, we tried 24 hours, but we couldn't make it. But in Hawaii, royalty would get this massage for up to 7 days, 10 days. So some royalty, the higher you were in the ali'i, or the royalty, the higher you were there with pure blood, you had more days of this ceremony performed on you when you were 12 or 13 years old. So like Kamehameha, you heard of the great king Kamehameha. Kamehameha got 10 days of this ceremony. And Queen Liliuokalani, you probably heard of her too. The queen of the government of Hawaii that the Americans imprisoned when they decided to take over that country, the sovereign country of Hawaii, with its own parliament, with its own queen. You know, Americans thought, we should just take over that country. Sent the Marines in, took it over, put her in jail. She got 10 days of this ceremony. All the great royalty got this because it takes a certain amount of time and energy. But we can only handle so much, right? This is the thing. They can handle it. You'll find if you train with me, you might be able to handle a day or two over time, but you have to build up your resistance, sort of your, not resistance, but actually your acceptance, opposite of resistance. An activation happens at your genes at the deepest level. And here I'm speaking specifically of the genes, and I mean it because they are a portal kind of representation of the Dharmakaya and Sambhogakaya, of the pure, what I call pure realms. And these genes can act as portals like the chakras. So genes and chakras are very similar in some ways. And they're portals for what can be expressed and what can't be expressed, what should be expressed, what could be expressed, what's potential. The Lomi Lomi brings out your potential. If you get a proper Lomi Lomi, you know you're naughty. You feel your ancestors filling you. You feel purposeful. You feel relaxed. The big questions are not so problematic anymore. I'm not afraid to die anymore. Like all kinds of things happen. Now, I want to start with this one. you know, it's kind of complex, but that's the way it is. And most people who really want to master it will do 3 of these trainings at least, right? I did 3 or 4 with my teacher before I started teaching them. And then, yeah, I went through hundreds. So they're really powerful, really, really powerful. And will transform your experience of yourself. If you're meant to be working for people's benefit through curing and healing and so forth, it'll really unlock all this for you. And the beauty of it is as well, I thought of this again, my students are really sincere, but they don't have enough money to do the trainings, and I can't do them for free yet because our endowment, we're just now made Trika Mahasiddha Yoga a 501c3 organization in America, which means nonprofit religious organization for education. So we can now take donations and build an endowment so that when I die, this thing keeps going. And our goal is to make all trainings just like, you know, $100 for a 10-day training so we can cover logistics. That's our goal. So we don't have that yet. I still have to work for a living. And I did when I was younger training with Abraham. So you have to work for a living still, I'm sure most of you, unless you're a trust fund kid, good for you. Share the wealth, by the way. So I needed a job and I didn't want to do a big clinic. When I first learned with my kahuna, Abraham, I didn't want to do a big clinic when I came out of training and all that kind of stuff. So I just did Lomi Ha'amaliola with people. And that was the best. And I made a donation. And people found such results that they donated vast sums of money, to be honest. And I said, okay, I feel ethical about this because I'm not stating a price. I'm not asking for anything. So you can, though. You could set a price, whatever you want to do. But what I wanted to do is give my students who are in the spiritual path, in the Dharma path, practicing Trikamasiddha yoga, but who have this healing part of themselves, a way to work, to have a job, to do something that's beautiful. And check this out. When you do the sessions for others, you're doing your own sadhana. You're doing your own spiritual work. Now, all the other yoga, tantra stuff I do that I learned from all the different traditions that you guys know about that I've done, there's nothing where you're engaged with another person so intimately, where all the barriers break down, where they're receiving healing from their own nature because you're helping create that environment where that can happen for them. But you're also doing your own sadhana. You're also training, and I can tell you it trains the compassion at a level that I never knew until I had children. So it trains the compassion at a tremendous level. It's one thing to say I'm all compassionate and run around and do compassion mantras all day like I'm doing here while we're lecturing, but it's another thing to really be compassionate and express it and show it and be that. It teaches you that directly in many, many ways, which we'll talk about during the training. But it also opens up Anahata chakra a lot, Agya chakra a lot, above Sahasrara, the extra bodily chakras up here. It really opens up all kinds of things. So if you have any inclination towards psychic development, it happens kind of by itself by doing the Lomi. So here's this thing where you get to do your sadhana for 2 or 3 hours in a blissed out, compassionate mode, using this other person's body as a template for you entering into that state yourself and their spirit, connecting with them. Not unifying, not becoming one, but connecting with that spirit and working with that spirit directly so that the spirit takes over and drives the session. And now everything you're doing, the breathing, one of the 4 breathing patterns you're using happens spontaneously. One of the 1,000 movements that you're using happens spontaneously. The stepping happens spontaneously. Everything is spontaneous in the highest level of this work. You're doing your sadhana, you're helping someone else, and you're getting paid. Like, checks 3 boxes for me. That always checks 3 boxes. I'm always looking for those 3 boxes until I'm, you know, wealthy. We have to make a living. So I wanted to give my students that opportunity. Okay. That was the idea there, to learn fantastically powerful shamanism traditionally, as I learned it, and to earn a living at the same time while benefiting beings. Okay. Now I think, so that training is going to happen, and other ones like learning how to use the pipe for pipe ceremony, very simple pipe ceremony, not elaborate, but it's what you bring to it. We'll get together for that at another training time. We've probably scheduled them yet or no? Sorry, Prem. That's you.
Yes, it's scheduled. The pipe and the offerings fire is April 2025.
Okay. So then in 2025, we have that one scheduled in April, but I'll probably do 3 more in April for just to see what people are into. This year's kind of done because I'm moving to Maine and we're trying to get building going and stuff. It's difficult, but we're going to do this one in September this year, which is great. After that, in 2025, we're going to start picking it up, doing a lot more trainings so that by 2027, probably, we start to think about closing down for the apprenticeship. If we got a lot of people who wanted to commit to the apprenticeship before that, we'd close down earlier. It's just a numbers game at this point. Okay. For apprenticeship, because it takes a certain amount of apprentices to make it happen. Okay. I think I've spoken a bit about this now. And anyway, that's enough. I think you guys should ask your questions that are important. And Sarvaprem, I don't want to go to the ones that were texted in. I want people live to ask because I really want to honor that they took the time to be here. And I know some people are really good people that couldn't be here and they sent them in for other reasons. And we'll get to those. But
Yeah.
while we're all here
Okay.
live, I want to do the live people first. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. So why don't you send them in on chat right now? And if I don't understand it, actually, I'll start reading it and we'll unmute it. Where's the participants thing, which shows me their chat box? Is Vajra here or is she gone?
I'm here. It's on the top, should be on the top where the 3 dots are. And then there's chat.
Top of what? More? I think it says
Maybe
more.
in the bottom it's in yours, but there's like 3 dots.
Oh yeah.
And go
Bottom.
there, it's the chat.
And then there it is. Thank you, dear.
Wait.
You're chatting as a guest. I'm chatting as a guest. Shouldn't it be a host?
You are the host.
So I'm chatting as a guest for some reason. Am I
Okay.
going to get the messages that way? So if you sent me something back channel thinking I'm the host, somehow I'm not on here as the host. So don't, I didn't get it. Sorry. Vajra, can you make me co-host or something?
Let me try.
Okay. Jamie is live. I saw that little guy somewhere. Where is it? There he is. Thanks for the work on the body light healing stuff, Jamie. It's quite beautiful. Dharma, can you please let Vajra Dakini in? Oh, okay. That's all you said. Lost connection. No problem. Portuguese. Okay. Where's the question? Here we go. Mani Vajra Nadine. Can you explain the importance of learning pipe ceremony as part of the shaman priest level? Not having any connection to Native American culture, I have difficulties understanding its purpose and utility connected to healing. Okay, sure. That's the first question you have there. The pipe ceremony, yeah, it's in my blood. And yeah, I grew up as an American seeing these images. So maybe it's more familiar for me. But I found that many people from different cultures were learning pipe with Grandmother Kitty Hawk and Twyla Nitsch and Thundercloud and all these other people that I was training with, and they were having really good results. So I realized, it's pan-human, really. So what is the utility of it? Why learn on the shaman priest level, the pipe? The pipe gives a unique way, I think, of offering prayers. We can offer prayers by verbal, which we do. And in that pipe ceremony, you offer verbal prayers. But making the prayers into a concrete offering is something that's interesting to me. So like when I did Vedic fire ceremony, I would take the rice and the ghee or whatever I was offering and throw it in. And that made the mantra prayer offered in physical form, transformed by the fire into smoke, taken up to the deities in the old Vedic fashion. So here, when I'm taking the pipe and I'm taking in the smoke and I'm holding the prayer and I blow it back over the pipe, it's a very physical way of praying. The same way in the Lomi Lomi training, when we learn how to chant with our body. That's very powerful too. So it's a very powerful way to pray. It's a very powerful way to purify. So you're exhaling the smoke. Say I'm going to do some healing ceremony in a room. This office here, my room. And I need to purify it first. If I'm taking that route of shaman priest and I want to use the pipe purification, I will invoke with the pipe first, connecting heaven and earth, the Mother, Father, Spirit, the whole thing. And then I will purify by blowing that smoke into the corners of all the room, filling the room with it, and then doing many more prayers with the pipe and smoke. So it's all suffused with prayer. Now, as above, so below, like I said before, in this training, I'm still a doctor and I'm still, a nerd when it comes to science. So I love the part that when I blow this smoke out, the herbs I'm using have been shown in studies as fumigation herbs to grab virus, mold, fungus, particles from the air and pull them out of the air and bring them down into the earth bound where they're then recycled. And you go, well, that's purification, isn't it? So a Western mechanistic doctor would say, well, that's the purification that occurs. That's all that really needs to happen, right? But this, again, is missing the point completely, right? It's taking the active ingredient out of the herb and not realizing that the herb has other chemicals in that plant that keep it from having deadly side effects, that keep it working on you in a smooth, slow way for curing, maybe healing, where you don't get problems and side effects and so on. The same with the smoke in the room. And of course, the medical doctor, unless they're a Christian or something like that, or, Hindu or some other kind of religion, but usually not, they don't really get that something else is happening on another level because of the prayer, because of the purity of your heart that you bring to this healing through the agency of the prayer and the method that you learn to do the prayer through the pipe and through the physical agency of the prayer taking form as smoke. They don't understand that, and that's just the way it works. It works. So the pipe ceremony is good for purification of space. It's good for you connecting, as like my son does it as a daily connection ritual now. He's gotten old enough, and when he was 15, I taught him, I got him a pipe and taught him how to do pipe ceremony and did all that kind of stuff. You guys might remember that in Costa Rica, that age when I took him out in the woods and gave him his first psilocybin to see what he would think of the universe. And what did he think? He thought, oh, it's not much trippier than everything we've been doing in Kung Fu and meditation, which I was very happy with that result. And I said, okay, the kid's there. I love it. So, he didn't need that stuff. So that happens for purifying space, for getting yourself connected to your own essence very deeply. It's a very deep way to do it. Sometimes I'll pray like that, connect myself to essence like meditation, and this is what the elders will do. I noticed and I realized as I trained, this is what we're doing. We're sitting there and we're kind of just staring, and we take a puff every minute or two and blow it out, and take a puff and blow it out. And you realize it's another form of meditation. That's amazing. So, and then there's the way that we use the pipe specifically as a healing agent on a person. Now that's next level. So you have to first develop the relationship with the pipe, develop the relationship with the prayers. You have to get sent into the woods to find your spirit song, which is something that I'll demonstrate my spirit song for all of you when we go into the training. You have to find your own spirit song. Because a spirit song is a way of a sound that comes to you, that helps you, that not helps you, that actually acts as a way of grabbing your healing spirits from where they are in space-time continuum and bringing them into the session to work for you. Because we don't only work with, it's not our power. Remember I said we're not a healer? Anyone who says they're a healer is a fool, a real fool, not a wise fool. We don't do that. We are going to ask for the spirit to help. We're going to learn how to invoke the 4 elements, which is, again, 4 elements in shamanism, 5 in Tantra. We'll do it all over again in Tantra from a whole different level. But with the pipe ceremony and the elemental understanding, this is all brought to bear on the healing situation. Then I teach you how to use the pipe as a healing instrument, a healing modality. Like when we do exorcism, we have the weapons that are used for the exorcistic rite, and so on and so on. So the pipe has many functions. The first level is not how to heal somebody with it. It's how you connect and you purify yourself and space and connect. Then you have a nice year or 2 working with that, and the rest of the program's going well, and you're attending the programs things, and you go into your apprenticeship. Then I'll show you how to use it to heal somebody, because then it actually has power. Before that, it has no power. I hope that helps, Manivajra. Where are you? Thumbs up? Okay. Anjali Mudra, good enough. I'd like to ask for guidance concerning the topic as to how to reach people as a healing practitioner without being right away put into the category of being a charlatan. I'm asking because, for example, in Germany, using the word healing in public or talking about the fact to heal someone is very stigmatized. And you even get problems with law if you don't have a proper medical degree. I do understand where it comes from and that people are used to distrust holistic, energetic, and shaman approaches to overall healing. I'd like to know if you have any advice on how to deal with that in general, since my wish is to work as a fully trained healing practitioner after finishing the program. Here's how to do it. Don't advertise. Right? You want to know you got a naughty as a healer? Don't freaking advertise. Okay. I never, ever advertised as a healer. Never. I said, Lomi sessions. This much money or donation, whatever I was doing at that time, just did that. I never said anything about healing. I didn't say anything about what it's going to do for you or nothing, you know. In my chiropractic practice, all of them, 1, 2, 3, 4 practices I had, 4 clinics in my life as a chiropractor. I was very busy. I never advertised, never once did I do a newspaper ad, a magazine ad, a flyers, nothing. I didn't go around and give public speaking engagements and it's, oh, by the way, see me as a chiropractor. I'm not putting anyone down who does that. Listen, be clear. I'm not putting anyone down who does advertising. But I'm telling you, if you want to stay out of all that negative karma from legal problems and also people thinking you're a charlatan or greedy or whatever, don't advertise. You say, well, Dharma, how am I going to get going? It's easy. You do sessions for free. You find you're at the coffee shop and someone's limping. I'll do this all the time. I still do this with people. I don't do sessions, but I'll give them advice because I don't have time to do private sessions anymore. But I see someone limping and I'll say, hi, do you have a little left hip problem there? She'll say, yeah, this happened at Starbucks the other day. Yeah, I got a little hip problem. Okay. Yeah, I struggle with arthritis a little bit too. Are you getting treatment for it? Yeah, you know, and I'm opening this conversation because I feel some karma with the person. It's not like every person on the street I see with a rash, I run up and say, hey, you know, she's behind me in Starbucks. We had a smile, and Maine is a place where everybody talks to everybody. If you've ever been to Maine, Maine is a lovely state where you go to buy something for 5 minutes and you're there for 30 minutes at the counter talking. That's just normal. So we're talking. And I was able to give her a lot of really good advice that she had understood about her hip situation and what's possible. I just did it last night, actually, come to think of it, on WhatsApp. Someone I knew from a long time ago sent me a WhatsApp about a very bad health problem they're having and what can they do. And I just gave them 15-minute WhatsApp message, you know. So I think this is the way when you get known, you get a few Lomis under your belt, like you do a few for free, you offer up Lomis to some people that, and don't think, oh, I'm going to give it to the influencer because then I'll get rich with all the people they know. They're going to tell everybody about me and get me on their podcast. You got to purify. You got to purify your heart. Your heart has to be modest. Modesty is so important. Without modesty, we have no possibility, okay, of being any kind of healer. So let's be modest. Let's offer a Lomi session to someone you know who's depressed. Oh my God, the greatest thing for them. They will just cry through the whole thing thanking you. Someone who's depressed, someone who just lost a loved one, you know, maybe someone who has cancer and it doesn't look good, you know, not trying to fix anybody. Don't fix anybody. And then if you don't fix, we're just here to serve. We don't heal. We don't fix, right? We know this teaching. I give it to the students all the time. You just serve. I'm just there to serve, just to be of a body of light healer. I'm just there to be in my body of light, my practice of the body of light, my consciousness, my love, that deep love and compassion for all human beings. You know, like there's so much suffering in the world right now with problems financially and illness. We can just be there for that person. Well, first we're whole, right? And we that wholeness to it. And we can be there for that person for that short amount of time, that 1, 2, 3 hours with a Lomi session. The amount of healing that can happen for them in that environment is just incredible, especially if it's coming from your karmic connection rather than from an advertisement, you see? So how to be a healer and get away without being in trouble, don't be a healer. Don't advertise. Offer free sessions. Don't do your pipe on people till I tell you you can, but do loan me for sure. Offer free sessions. And here's how it works. It's not in the back of your mind. It shouldn't be in the back of your mind. Just let it go, because I'm just going to tell you that it works. Badra, are you getting notices that people are waiting in the waiting room? Because I'm clicking them and clicking them. I don't think you're checking. So it
No,
should come
because
up.
no. It's just because you have to make me co-host again because I dropped out of connection.
Ah,
Possible, but I don't want to interrupt
no,
the.
you got to interrupt for that. Otherwise, people waiting a long time. Okay,
Okay, so yeah,
there you
if you
go.
can make me co-host again, cool.
Now
Thank
you're
you.
the hostess with the mostess, as we used to say in the 60s. So if we're really coming from that place of that ultimate compassion, ultimate humility, and we realize we're a small cycle within greater cycles, and we're interacting with another cycle of body light in front of us on the altar in Lomi, this can happen, you see? So, and the pipe is the same way. So this is why. So don't advertise. It's much better. Yeah. Is that good, Manivendra? Okay. Because honestly, don't think about it, but when you do that with love like that, people will come. They will refer to you. You will have cakes dropped off at your front door. You will kuchen for you guys. You will have all this good stuff coming to you. It's just so weird how that all works. And I thought, oh, okay. So the universe takes care of you when you take care of the universe. All right. This is a question from T. Trini. Would it be an obstacle if we don't have Native American blood? No, like I said in the opening statement there, that many people came to train and receive healing and learn training with those great teachers, Thundercloud, Grandmother Kitty Hawk, and Twyla, and these other ones I studied with. No problem. I'm trying to teach the things that are universal, not specific to a genetic, but it's nice. So I think anybody Asian can definitely click into Native American because it's the same genes. We know that. Then, so that takes care of all that. You're all good there. Polynesian is what? Asian and African. Okay, we click in there again. So really, you all have it. And when you get to us whiteys, or I'm a mixed bag, but you get to other whiteys, you got Stav and you have all the Stav healing. But it never stopped any of the people who are Caucasian from becoming good at this, because really, in the end, it's human. You may feel some cultural affinity, and that may wake up latent genetic cultural affinity, but I don't think it would stop anyone from being good at any of the techniques they're going to teach. Otherwise, Tantra wouldn't work, right? As well. K, Sukha City. My body is debilitated. Not sure if I can perform Lomi. Is there any, I can't see this thing in the way here. Is there any chance I can get healing through the training? Maybe be able to be a Lomi practitioner. Yeah, you come and do the training and you participate to whatever level your body will allow you to participate. We had people with a lot of arthritis, old people that couldn't move so well, not even arthritis, just really old. I mean, we did a Lomi with one lady, was a nun, like 86-year-old nun. So you just do what you can do. And if you're basking in the energy of that body of light, it's beautiful. You're going to get whatever you get. We can't expect. We just open and receive. Rowan and Lisa. Hello, Rowan and Lisa. I think you guys had to go or left or something. I don't see you there anymore. Oh, you're there. Okay. Will Stav training be part of September? No, Stav won't be part of that's going to be purely Hawaiian focused, Hawaiian shamanism focused. Stav will come later. But now let me be clear though, in the Body of Light Healing program, I'm only doing the Stav healing aspects. For the Stav, I think you're a martial artist, right? Yeah. So you want to do the Stav martial? Have you done Stav yet as a martial art with Graham or anybody? Okay. I'm happy to teach it to you, and I'm happy to lead those trainings. They're going to be Way of Warrior. And it looks like the first junior acharya for Way of Warrior will be somebody in Prague, Czechoslovakia. I think he's getting ready for that real soon. And then he'll be leading the Way of Warrior trainings and bringing me over for some of them. And happily, we'll be doing lots of Stav for martial as well. But this will be the healing aspect of Stav, the 6 types of Stav healing that relate to it, focusing on 5 because one of them is a bit of sorcery, and we don't really want to do sorcery out of this one of the 6, because Stav is like everything goes. If I can use sorcery to heal, okay, but I don't want to get into that. So, good question. Andy, is there a way to take part in the stage 2 phase? And now listen, I'm answering these questions for you guys, but if something's triggered in that vein while you're here live, please unmic and say, hey, can I ask one more on that? You know? So Andy, is there a way to take part in the stage 2 phase in the apprenticeship program without learning Lomi or Stav? We need a foundation in 1 before we go to 2, because 2 is closed apprenticeship. So I need to see how you are. It's a two-way thing. I'm not going to let everybody do it who applies, right? Some people may apply and I just know I'm doing oracles. Oracles is a big part of this as well. So I didn't say that as well. I'm going to teach 3 or 4 different oracle techniques I learned from different traditions. Oracles are extremely important in understanding healing. You know, I should probably not say this, but I'd be sitting behind a desk sometimes taking case history with a client. My left hand is in my bag of an oracle. And while they're talking, I feel around and I pull one out and I look at it, the little bead inside, and I put it back, getting a hit. I'm getting a feeling, a hit on what's going on underneath that they're not telling me. So oracles are a big part of this. Oracles to predict the healing prognosis, which methods would be best, all different kinds, and I'm going to go through that. So there's a lot of foundational work you're going to need from the first level to go into the apprenticeship. I would really like to see somebody doing the Lomi. I'd like to see them doing the pipe. Yeah, if they want to be an apprentice. Sort of like, you know, you got to kind of deserve it to be an apprentice, to be honest. You gotta work it. So no shortcuts, Andy. Sorry about that. That's life. That'd be like me going to chiropractic college and saying, hey, do I have to do my undergrad first in biochem and genetics, or can I just jump right in? They'll go, you got to go to school first. Dorga, Andy, you're there? Yeah.
Really quick. The question was not to like, how do I skip something, but more like if I don't feel drawn to Lomi or stuff.
I wish to know if you're gonna teach in this first phase any tantric ways of healing. Sorry, time.
Somebody was already talking and you just jumped in. Can you wait? Okay. Andy, go ahead.
Yeah. If I don't feel drawn to stuff or Lomi, is there another way to come to stage 2?
There's only those things I'm going to offer as foundations. Yeah, there's no other way, unless of course you're a shaman already. You know, you show me you've trained, you know, not a new age shaman, but a real shaman already. You've trained a long time, like Svoni. If Svoni from Finland were to come down here, you know, Jungle Svoni, that young guy who's a very good shaman from up north, if he said, hey, I want to train with you guys, of course he could be invited to do anything on level 1, but I'd never say, you got to do level 1. You don't know anything. Your shamanism's not as good as ours. I wouldn't do that. Yeah. So of course he could go into the level 2 right away. That's the only way I could think about it. So Andy, I'd love to see you there, but we've got to keep it like that, because we'll have to have a relationship developed by training together in different modalities, a vocabulary developed, and understanding developed from which to move into level 2 with. And I need to make the cut. In case there's 50 people, there's no way I could have 50 people. So, okay, cool. Dorg, let me see. Did you have something that was, you wanted to, Dorga, there was your fellow Portuguese person jumped in ahead of time. Did you want to say it now or no?
Hey, yes, Dara. Sorry, I was in the Portuguese channel, so I wasn't listening to Andy. So I got into
No worries.
Okay. Well, I wish to know if in this first phase you're gonna teach any shamanic, any tantric ways of healing, or just those? No. Okay.
Only shamanism. And I feel that it's very important that we do shamanism first before we do tantric level. So Andy, here's part 2 to your answer that Yves is helping us out with here. Shamanism is such an integral part of Tantra as a spiritual practice and as a healing practice. Tantric doctoring exists. Tantric healing exists. There's such a thing. But it's completely empty, I believe. And I don't think people who like go with a lama, then learn a healing technique, it never seems to work. I noticed because they haven't done the shamanism first. I really think it needs the shamanism first. So the shamanism is a definite prerequisite to the tantra, because it's going to just, you go from 4 elements to 5 elements. You know, you go from dealing with entities possessing the body as beings that are negative, and you get rid of them. You go to the next level to tantra. You have to understand that to then work with them as conditions of channel, chakra, bindu, and tattva element. You have to understand the possession first to understand the elemental aspect. You understand the possession first to understand the chakra, prana, nadi aspect. Okay, so it's an important prereq. We'll leave it at that. And now Durga. Great. Good qualifying. Good. Thank you, Yves. Durga, as a Kundalini Hatha Yoga instructor, I've been receiving a lot of new students with more complex diseases like breast cancer, Parkinson's, cases of eating disorders. Yeah, everybody's sick now. Bipolar, suicidal, depression. Could Body of Light Healing training help me help my students better? How? Yeah, how? Because it's designed to heal people. So if you want to learn how to be that intermediate intercessor, to create a healing environment for people, then for sure it can help if that's what you want to do for them as well. And Kundalini Hatha Yoga, it's really hard to practice it when you are really sick. And you're not really supposed to. The rules of the system are, for a good reason, that you should go to get treatment with the Vaidya, with Dr. Ravi in Kerala first, get rid of your disease, and then start practicing Kundalini Hatha Yoga. Kundalini Hatha Yoga, even though in the front of the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, it says, oh, it heals many diseases, blah, 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 blah. They're thinking about it in a very different way than we're talking about it in this question. They're not talking about really deep cancers and people on chemo. They're not talking about bipolar where it's really bad with strong medications and things like this. It's quite different. So, Vajra, are you getting those ones that are coming up? Okay, I'm clicking them. You're not getting into them. So, if you want to work that way, then Body of Light Healing is good. But it shouldn't really be mixed in your mind that you kind of Kundalini Hatha Yoga is going to heal these people. It may. Sometimes people can use that as a vehicle to heal themselves. It really can, or get a physical cure. But I would always like to see people like this treating it on both levels. They're doing some kind of body light healing. They're doing some kind of Ayurveda, Panchakarma, things like this. And then they're practicing whatever we think is appropriate of Kundalini Hatha Yoga because they have these different diseases, right? These disease processes happening within them. Sometimes they can do a lot of the Kundalini Hatha Yoga. Sometimes they can only do little bits of it. That's really important because you can make it worse. Here's how it all comes together, guys. Now you hear how complex this is. And you people who are Ayurvedic people, Chinese medical people, you'll know what I mean. If someone comes in with a cancer and that cancer is a hot cancer, and it's a hot cancer related to the lower Tantien or the red Bindu area, and we start giving them Bhastrika Pranayam, Kapalabhati Pranayam, Kumbhaks, all these things to create tremendous amount of heat down there, you could absolutely make that cancer worse. Right? Oh dear, yes. So we really have to understand the energetics of health and disease. And this is the one thing I regret not being able to do, but there was no way to do it with my 1-year program, people that came, like Durga and Bodha and Vajra, I see here and Mani Vajra and more of you. I wasn't able to go into medicine enough. We did like a weekend just to give you a feeling for it, But in the ancient times, the yogins were very good doctors. The high-level yogins practiced what's called Siddha medicine, which is what I teach as my version of Ayurveda, right? You have more jungle herby Ayurveda, and then you have more mantras and basmas Ayurveda, right? Called Siddha medicine. So I'm more on that side of it. And that I wasn't able to do, but there's a very important connection. I saw Prem here too. Very important connection between the work with your Ayurveda hat on as a doctor and your work as a yoga teacher. There's a very important connection there. So it depends how deep you want to go. I personally could never imagine being a yoga teacher without being a Vaidya an Ayurvedic doctor or a Chinese medical doctor. So I personally couldn't imagine it because you're seeing it now. The overlap is there. Yeah. And what happens when they practice your Kundalini Hatha Yoga instructions incorrectly and they cause themselves a disease? Hey, Jim, why haven't you been in practice? Oh, I got this hypertension now. I'm afraid to do the yoga. Well, let's go over what you were doing at home. Oh, God, no, that's the wrong way. Oh, no, you're supposed to breathe out on that bandha, not breathe in on that bandha. You gave yourself hypertension. Oh, no, you're not supposed to compress the Siramantha Marma, the carotid body. You're supposed to extend it. Like, oh, God. So knowing this, you just are better. It's like in Kung Fu. We have to be able to fix you because we're breaking you, right? That's important in Kung Fu. We have to be able to fix you. Okay. So that's a good one there. Oh, you got a lot of questions. What's the difference between body light healing and Trika psychology? Well, one is dealing more with just the psychology level. Body of light healing is shamanism, tantric healing, direct healing. So there's that right there. I hope that's enough for that one. Tell me if you don't get enough out of that answer. What should we take into consideration when choosing which way to go? Body of light or Trika psych? I guess that's really where your aptitude is and what you're into. You know, more of the shamanic tantric understanding, more of the, see, the Trika psych is like level 2 of this course without, it's like a stripped down anorexic version of level 2. So we're talking about bindus, chakra, nadi, right? Prana, but relating it always to psycho-emotional patterns specifically. So it's very, very specific, very narrow version of level 2 of this apprenticeship. Okay. So Trika Psych, this is the big question that Sahaja has for me. So are we going to put Trika Psych in the apprenticeship, in the Body of Light Healing apprenticeship? And I said, well, I can't imagine how we couldn't. And probably that's where the apprenticeship group for good people who really want to do really good psychology, psychotherapy from this shamanic tantric tradition will get their training eventually, until our little gal, Gia, finishes her work she's doing on organizing all my notes I've given her over the years and more now. She's come up here to train on that for a few times already. We've worked on the Trika Psych already, but it's going to take a few years. Can only health practitioners attend? No. It's better if you have background, but anyone can attend. Venke, hello, Venke. After doing some research on Korean shamanism, I discovered the initiation into becoming a mudong is having a serious illness caused by spirits, getting very close to death. Is this specific? Yes. No, that's not specific only to Korean shamanism. There's a number of other Native American shamanic traditions and other ones around the world I learned that have this same idea. You had to be close to death. You had to get initiated. The lady I trained with in the mountains in Ukraine, the Baba Anna. Baba Anna had uterine cancer, very bad uterine cancer, and she was close to death. And none of this, the chemo stuff or whatever was working. After all, was Ukraine in the 60s, so 50s and 60s. So who would trust that treatment anyway? So she said, screw it. I'm going to go into the countryside and die or whatever. And then she meets a shaman, a lady, teaches her how to heal it. One of the main things was using the knots of the birch tree, where we get the birch beer from, the sap from birch beer. And she'd boil those knots and drink that. But she was training in a full apprenticeship with this woman and became fantastically healed and a great shaman. And I'm so glad I trained with her. She was amazing. So many traditions have it that way by chance or by standard, but many, many others not. So in Hawaiian shamanism, all you needed to do was be born into a kahuna family and already it was offered for you. You could do it if you wanted to. Or you said, hey, I really feel drawn to be a kahuna, or the rest of Polynesia, tahuna. I really feel that and I want to train. And they'd take you in. So no near-death experience was necessary in that tradition, in those other ones. So many other ones are like that, okay? So you don't have to die. Almost die. What are the qualifications to become acharya in this program? Oh, very good question. Yeah, I feel that for someone who's going to teach this work, yes, they have to be stabilized at stage 7 minimum out of 12-stage view, just like senior acharyas of our school, stabilized in 7. But on top of that, instead of having all the sadhana knowledge and having performed the sadhanas and the retreats, solar retreats and so on, they have to actually demonstrate, obviously, all the knowledge and skill that comes with the Body of Light healing program. And then great, you can be the acharya of that. Doesn't mean you have to be as good at each component as every other component. It means you have to be really masterful in one from each level. And to this end, once we get those acharyas and we open it up, we're going to bring in other shamanic modalities, other tantric modalities, because you'll be a stage 7 person. You're going to meet other teachers and you're going to receive other teachings and other practices from other shamans and other Dharma teachers that are healing practices, and you'll want to incorporate them, and you should, because you're an acharya. You can do that now. So this happens to me all the time, or used to happen all the time. I would just keep incorporating. But we do have to have this sense of discrimination about what's going to be added to the program. This is why I want someone in stage 7 above, where the wisdom is there. I chose to go no on Santeria at the very end because the view wasn't high enough. There was not the ultimate understanding of non-duality. My padrino, who was training me, understood what I was teaching him about the view. He asked me to teach him the view. And he, with tears in his eyes, said, I wish we had that. That's my moment when I decided I won't be a Santeria, right? Practitioner, because I realized, oh, we have a better view and we have a higher view. Therefore, higher training, higher result for all beings. So I'm going with this. I'm not going to fool around with Santeria anymore. My heartstrings get tugged. Sahaj and I were just somewhere in the world and there was Santeria all around. And I went in the shop and I felt my Orisha. And, it's beautiful. But I just had to be like a walk down memory lane, then walk out of the shop. Okay. But other things you may encounter are good to incorporate that come from a different place. Yeah. This goes for a Candomblé. So when I say Santeria, it's also Brazilian Candomblé and what's it called? Umbanda? Am I saying it right? Yeah. All that stuff in that category. Not quite high enough view. Okay. Helena. Hello, Helena. About shamanic practices taught on the program, will it include soul retrieval practice, where we are taught to go into trance, facilitate receival? So I started doing that a long time ago with a lama I met, and then a guru I met, and then I met Michael Harner in the 70s, 80s, I can't remember, and did drumming circles with him where we learned to go in trance and do soul retrieval. But I personally don't believe that Michael Harner's was effective or very powerful. So if you come from the neo shaman, neo tantra groups where everybody sits in a circle and bangs a drum and you do a visual thing and you go and come back, and I've never seen anybody actually good at that. I've never seen them affect any type of healing within a person through that environment created and you doing that work. So I'm not a big fan of the neo version of it, but I am a fan of the tradition of it. Like the Laplanders, they're arguably the best in the world. But from the level 2, level 3 type of healing, not just physical curing, but healing that we do in this work, there is a Tibetan version of it that I think is really wonderful, and that will be part of the curriculum. Okay. All right, Helena.
Okay.
So
Yep,
yeah.
Thank you.
And some of our practices actually do this. We have a practice for Durga modeled after this kind of soul retrieval thing. And they have this in the Bun tradition, because Bun is very hooked up with shamanism as well, where you're going out in the universe and you're receiving disparate parts of yourself that were separated long before and incorporating them into yourself. Oh, now that I mention it, Way of Water, level 3 of Rudy Kriya Yoga that I don't teach until you do level 1 and 2, and you do it for a while. In level 3, we also have ways of opening certain chakras and stuffing them full of all the stuff that's your stuff out in space left out there. So it's another type of soul retrieval. So we hit it from many different angles. I never thought about it, but I think we'll teach that in the healing pro. I'll teach Rudy's one version of it as well in the healing program. for the healers themselves. You see, here's something I didn't mention yet, a side note outside the questions here. The healer has to be powerful themselves and have the technology and have the heart of humility and service. And then they can really affect change. They can set up an environment and be an intermediary. But if the healer themselves doesn't have the power, nothing's going to happen. And that's why I'm really against workshops on shamanism and really against all this. I think it's garbage. I think you take people's money and you're lying. And at the most positive possible way, the person leading it is deluded, naively deluded, because they learned from some neo-tantric new age shaman and they think they're a shaman now and they're teaching it, but they really believe they're getting results. So let me tell you again, one more time. If you're like my grandfather Thundercloud and people go in with a disease and go out without it, if you're like my great-grandmother where people go in with disease and leave without it, which my own family members have reported to me, not to mention the hundreds of people she healed otherwise, that's a healer. That's why we don't use the term healer until we're that, and we should never use it about ourselves. People will say it about you. People should say it about you. You shouldn't get a little certificate from your New Age Healing Weekend, okay? It should be cancer, tuberculosis, paralysis, okay, check. Enough people in the community go, someone says, I need healing. Oh, go to her, go to him. That's how it should really happen, okay? So yeah, we should make that part, make a note, Cyberprem. Did you make a note? Yeah. That Rudy's so the Rudy's work is great for healers themselves. So I highly recommend you learn that Kriya Yoga system. But this one Kriya in level 3 will do after the apprentices are formed, because it'll really help the person become more powerful in their own work as a healthcare practitioner. Call yourself a healthcare practitioner. Don't call yourself a healer or a shaman. It's so wanky, isn't it? Jamie, can this be a replacement for Western psychotherapy, or would the healing practices taught in Body of Light work alongside? It could work alongside if the therapist is really open to it, or psychiatrist, and you're having frank discussions, very clear discussions about the drugs that are being given and how they could or could not impact what you're doing as a Body of Light healer. I don't put you second to a psychotherapist, never. As a Body Light healer, I think you're far more skilled and wide-ranging than most any psychotherapist you'll ever meet. And the same with the psychiatrist. I think they're actually more problematic, most of them. Medical doctors who use drugs to alter the mind. Not our cup of tea. So I would definitely do it alongside to save them from the other modalities. But you might be able to work with a psychotherapist who's more grounded and who wants to help the person on a day-to-day, week by week, implement the healing that they're having inside themselves with good check-ins, good psychology, not somebody trying to tell me about your mother and uncover every, weird thing and do talk therapy, which makes it worse, something like CBT or something. Is there a commonality of view that joins these systems all together taught in Body of Light? The commonality is the level 1, the level 2, the level 3. So everything from level 1 has a common view. Everything level 2 has a common view. Everything level 3 has a common view. And the fact that humans have been into trying to get healed forever, cured and healed forever. So there's a commonality right there as well. Okay. Where did we go? Jamie. Okay. Number 3 for Jamie. For Acharyas in the apprenticeship program, will Acharyas form their own curriculum based on the modules in Body of Light most applicable to them? Will Acharyas form their own curriculum? Curriculum to study or to practice, Jamie? Are you still there?
Yeah, I just mean, is it kind of like the 5 ways where you pick way of fire, way of water, or would there be kind of a joint Acharya program where everyone's following the same curriculum? Say if, are you going to continue doing expanding upon Lomi as you go through? Are you going to keep expanding upon stuff as you go through? Yeah,
that's what I was saying about Lomi. Some of it I can't teach till later. And like even the Kriya here, if you did level 1 or 2 in Way of Water, you still wouldn't have had this 3rd level Kriya if you didn't do Body of Light. So there's some things that are unique to it, and we'll keep expanding them. The Lomi one, there are some techniques that are extremely powerful, but take a phenomenal level of skill with your hands, with your mind, with knowing what to say, when to say it, or you blow it, and it could actually have a little negative effect. So that kind of stuff we keep for later. Everybody who's an acharya, not just acharyas, everybody who's in level 3 in the apprenticeship, you're going to learn the core curricula, acharyas and others, non-acharyas. You're going to learn the core curricula. And then as the cohort continues with the apprenticeship, I'm going to encourage every person in it, acharya and non-acharya, to find what is their thing that they're really good at, really drawn to in the curriculum, and master it. Because it's very hard to master them all. Mastering them all is an adept thing, and that's not seen often. But most of us are wired to master one. So that's enough. You don't need more than that. Like, I know how to do hex sign painting. I know how to do, you take a piece of wood, you stain it, or you paint it with wood protector or whatever, and then you perform magic on that wood. You write magical symbols with prayers and do blessings on it. Then you put another coat of white paint over it so no one sees them, and you paint a picture on top, a picture that goes into the psyche of the person who sees it. And that connection at that moment activates the spell, right? This is what we learned in our German tradition coming down through my great-grandma. When I found out about my great-grandma, I went back to Pennsylvania in America, where all these Germans still live, and hide this stuff and make it like it's a tourist thing, painting these little paintings for people. Of course, the spells aren't inside of them, but I learned about it, and I got them to teach me about it. And oddly enough, as karma works, I went home after that training with these guys and gals, and my grandmother said, we have a baby blanket for you that was blessed. Did you ever see it? I said, no. So it was a blanket that had been going down through the family. It was blessed. And I didn't understand what she meant by blessed. So I took this blanket away. I was at my mom's house with my grandma. They lived together till they died. And I'm looking at the blanket, and I noticed this little, I don't know, I noticed a hole in the border of the blanket that was sewn up on purpose. So I open it up, and inside, sure enough, there's spells. Inside on cloth were spells written in runic language and symbols and shoved back in the blanket. And so the baby had a blessed blanket. All of us babies had a blessed blanket to protect us, you see? So, you know, are you going to learn specifics? Yeah, you'll learn things like that I still know. If it's down your track, which track for you? That's not for everybody. But talisman making, by the way, I should say this, that's a talisman. Technically, that blanket is a talisman, right? Talisman making is definitely something that we are going to do. Absolutely. In the high-level shamanic work, talismans are extremely useful, extremely powerful, and I believe in them strongly. I believe in them strongly. I use them. Even more powerful, I have ones that were used by great masters that they gave to me. It builds over generations, right? My rings and other gems in them and so on. So I'm going to teach you how to do talismans too. That's a really powerful thing to know as well for healing. Okay, cool. I think that answers that, right? Yeah, okay, thanks, Jamie. Yoav, Michelle, can you bring a baby to Lomi Lomi? To give them a Lomi Lomi, that would be so fun. They probably wouldn't sit still for it, but they'd love it. Can you bring a baby? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't bring the baby into the Lomi Lomi training temple. Is that okay with you? So you're welcome to come and be on the grounds. But if you both wanted to do the training, if you're suggesting, I don't know, that you and Yoav both want to do the training, but you'll swap on and off with the baby, you're both going to miss a little bit because I'll be demonstrating and one of you will be with the baby. Then the other one will be there and I'll be demonstrating. But you can teach each other. And then I'm in there. So the first 5 days, we learn a lot. And then the last 5 days, we practice a lot and we learn maybe 20%. And during that real practice heavy times, there's a lot of downtime because we're resting in between sessions. And you can say, hey, am I doing this run right correctly, going around the ilia, over the sacrum, down through the ischial tuberosity? And I'll go, yeah, it should be like that. It should be like this when you come up and over and down. Am I breathing the right pattern? Yeah, we can check in. So yeah, but the baby can't be in the room while sessions are going on or while teachings are going on. On break time, baby can play in the room where the temple altars are. No problem. No problem. Hawaii loves family, loves children, but there are certain places they can't go during sacred events, which I'm sure every tradition has. B, who's B? Bodhanidhi. How important will protection practices be in the program? A lot, real important. And what kinds of protection techniques will be part? Yeah, I can't give away the whole thing here, but we're going to focus a lot on visual protection along with mantra, along with accoutrement, right? Smoke, vajras, metal objects, swords. You're all going to have to find a sword. I could run and grab mine and show you, but I don't want to waste your time. You'll have to have special ritual swords. For my money, the best ritual swords I like for me were from Bali, a kris. But you don't get a kris from another family because it has all their ancestors in it and all the negative spirits tied to it that they exorcised and stuff. You don't want to do that. You have to get your own. And to do that, you have to make friends with a shaman family who thinks you're not a wanker, some kind of, what wanker is? Does that translate to all the languages? Some kind of fool who's going to use it the wrong way. And then they'll have one made for you because the metal that's used is a special meteorite metal. And I got mine from a special family I know because I've had a lot of training with Balinese Tantra and so on. So you may equally find a samurai sword that you want to use. I would certainly dull the blade a lot so you don't hurt anybody when you're cutting them ritually. Oops. Okay. You don't want that to happen. But you could find any kind of sword or sacrificial ceremonial knife, but it's all symbolic. So if you don't want a real metal blade, you could use a wood sword, like a spia that we use in ritual for Vedic fire ceremony. But long story short, protection is super important. The first level starts with protecting yourself, then expunging stuff, then filling up on power. That's all first level shamanism. Protect, expunge, fill up. Right? That's all the basis. Then you learn how to use it. That's all later. That's all first level. So you see how much there is to do there. Number two, I'm also curious if there are possible negative karmic implications of healing other people for the healer. Yes, there are. Are these mostly overblown or do these happen mostly because of impure motive? Yeah, impure motive. And it's a combination. I mean, if you have impure motive, you're screwed already. You're definitely going to get sick from some bad stuff. And you're not going to be able to affect much on other people, really. If you do, it was up to their power of belief. The other part is there is a certain level where if I have a lot of power in this left hand and very little power in this right hand, and they're naturally moving towards each other to merge, it's going to go like this, isn't it? That's just the nature of it. The right will overpower the left. Or this one has, which one has more power? Left has more power, I said? Okay, sorry. Left has more power, right doesn't have as much power, and they're moving towards each other. Well, when 20 meets 50, once they touch, 30 keeps moving this way, 30 excess. This is a very simple way to understand shamanism. If you don't have your own personal power, you will get the karmic backlash of these diseases. You will. And I don't care what any Dzogchen teacher or Shambhavapaya, Anapaya, Shaiva teacher tells you, there's no karma, there's no karma. Yeah, sure. On this level, believe me, there's karma. And you don't want it. So believe me, don't put yourself in that position. So we have to be really strong, really pure, really protected. This is why we have to have a spirit song, spirits that help protect us. This is why we want to have a protector deity that works with us, receive abhishekams of protector deities. Many, many levels to this. Also curious if you could give your perspective about asking money for a healing ceremony. Is asking money also not a form of improper motive? Since healing is understood to come from nature itself. Yeah, I think when you're in the level of shamanic healing and you're not curing, if you want to cure, you charge money. Going to get my car fixed this morning. The car's tires got changed. We don't see so much snow anymore. So now we're going to put normal tires on again and save some money on gas. Okay. I pay him for that. I got an adjustment I need, I got messed up in wrestling the other day. I go to the chiropractor. I pay it. Kunk. If I was a normal person, I would pay him for that. I'm a chiropractor, so I never pay. But if I was a normal person, I'd pay. But now we're talking about healing. And if you're just serving to stand as an intercessor, an intermediary for that person, then you're performing a service. And we really do think about it in the sense that whatever people come to you, you have karma with them. Doing the healing is good enough payment for resolving the karma. The Navajo Indians are having a hard time with this. Not to pick just on them, but they're famous for it. Someone will come with cancer and the healer will say, I want a new Ford F-250 pickup truck for this one. $55,000. And they'll say, sure, I don't want grandma to die of cancer. Here you go. And grandma doesn't get the cancer. But was it right? Was it right? So there's a lot of backlash now in Native American culture about this now, charging outrageous. Maybe the Navajos caught a bad deal because everyone refers to them, but they got famous for doing it. But maybe others do it. Of course, others probably do too. So what I prefer is that at that level, I go donation. So here's an example. I use a lot of trickery in my life. So I had my clinics were there and I did chiropractic work. Great. There's my fee, $30 a session. And I've never changed that price in decades. Why? I don't care. $30. And I don't take insurance because insurance is a scam. It's an evil spirit by itself. So $30 a session. By the time I did my last practice for 8 years in Avalon Beach, Australia, I had a bench along the wall and some chairs. People came upstairs, sat down, and when this person was finished, the next one would come in. I didn't keep appointments anymore. Couldn't really do that because I might do 15 minutes with one person, a 2-minute adjustment with another person, just slam that bone back in place and out you go. I might do an hour and a half with the next patient. I do an adjustment. Then I do trigger point therapy massage. Then I cook up my extensive range of Chinese herbs that become, what do you call that stuff? The goo that you put on people, a salve, a paste. It would make a paste. I'd cook up these pastes with rice wine and I'd put it on their body and wrap it with gauze. Maybe then I have to teach them some Qigong movements to fix that lower back, hour and a half, people sitting there waiting. Because I found in the end, I could not fit people into a time slot. Everybody's got different issues. It's impossible. So anyway, that I charge. Now, here's the question. Here's what would happen. Sometimes a person would literally look up at the table from the table and look at me and say, do you know what God is? I'd say, what are you talking about? And I don't know. I'm feeling this opening inside and emptiness. And I really want to, do you know what God is? And I would say, now you got to come to my house. So then I'd bring them to the house. We'd have a cup of tea. I'd feel into their nadi. And it would either they'd become a tantric student or we would perform a ceremony. I would perform a ceremony with them and help them with the ceremony, but never charge this way, never charge for that, you see, because that just felt like that was a different level of service. It wasn't my job and it wasn't curing, it was healing. So, but everybody has to make up their own rules about this. I don't believe in charging for that kind of thing. I charge for my Oracle sessions now because that's something I do. It's just part of my work. And, I have to put shoes on the kids' feet. Everything's expensive in America. But yeah, when it comes to other things, no, I still bring people to the house and do things for free because it's service. So good question.
Hey,
Sorry,
Dama.
Guruji.
1 second. Make sure you read. I'm going to type a book in here. Anyone who wants to come and do this, read this book. I have a required reading list. because right on this question, there's a very good book that has a very good section moment in the book. Rolling Thunder is the name of the book by Doug Boyd. Whether you do Native American shamanism in the end or not, doesn't matter. You're learning. And there's a section in there where Rolling Thunder gets really ill. And he tells you why he gets really ill. He's the shaman. Why is he getting really ill? Shamans live really long usually and don't get ill. Why is he getting ill? And it's because of something wrong with his spiritual heart. You know, the spiritual heart? And you have to have a pure spiritual heart when you're practicing this way, okay? Read that. That will help you understand. Oh my God, you've taken Sahaja's place telling me I'm bumping my screen. Okay, someone has to do it, I guess. And Yves, you were about to jump in?
Yes. Well, I wish to ask you if you think the modern psychology, when I am advising someone, can I get, I don't know, hurted by it, you know, in modern psychology? Because I am a psychologist and I'm worried if I don't know, in the university they don't teach anything about don't get ill.
Yeah, of course. They don't understand karma. The only karma the university understands is you sat there talking for an hour and you should receive a certain karmic payment for that. That's the karma payment. That's all they understand. Now, what's happening on the unseen levels? Stage 8, stage 9, stage 10 of the view, 11 and 12. What's happening on those levels is there's an exchange of karma. How pure are you? Does it pay your Ferrari payment, your Porsche payment? You know, do you keep them coming for a bit longer? You know, this is why I demand a treatment program when someone's going to treat me for something. You know, if I was going to psychotherapist, I said, I want to see a treatment program. How many sessions to achieve this goal, that goal? And if I achieve it sooner, we're going to go sooner. And this is where I don't like, you know, when anybody is a psychotherapist, they don't do a treatment plan. I really worry about that. If they're a herbalist, if they're a Ayurveda person, a chiropractor without treatment plans, I really wouldn't go to them, to be quite honest. I think it's unethical. You're just letting it roll and roll and oh, they'll always need me because there's always some problem. Oh, that's a terrible idea. Or worse yet, I want to make money, make more money, keep them coming. It's a terrible idea. It's very bad. So now let's go to the subtle. You're a psychotherapist, you're talking with them, they're talking with you. All kinds of karmic exchanges are occurring. All kinds of karmic exchanges are occurring there. And then, you know, but this is just the way it is. So that's why if you're a therapist, you should have any kind of therapist, by the way, whatever therapy you do, physical, mental, emotional, surgical, whatever. You should definitely have a spiritual practice that shows you how to do what? Back to shamanism, back to 101. What did I say? Protect, purify, strengthen. Protect, purify, strengthen. Protect, purify, strengthen. You've got to be able to have a routine. If you're going to work in the world of working with sick people on a spiritual level, like healing, mental, spiritual healing, or on a physical curing, there's a karmic exchange and you have to work on this. And part of that protection is, like I told you about this book to read, part of that protection is purifying your heart, constantly purifying your heart, constantly purifying your heart. Do you get off at all on being famous? You know, I was on the front page of Australia's national newspaper for doing shamanic work. I had to weigh it out in my mind. They said, can we come and interview you and take photos? We heard you're doing some crazy shit with eagle claws and big drums. And I said, well, let me think about it. I did. I said, let me think about it. It wasn't a done deal. So I meditated on it. I thought about it. I meditated. I was like, more good than harm will come by people seeing these newspaper articles. And it wasn't once, it was 4 times over these 8 years. And I said, okay, more good will come from it than bad. Let's do these interviews, open people's minds a bit, and then I'll encourage them to find shamans local to them. So it doesn't become advertising for me, right? So it was great because no one from those articles came to me, which was awesome. Actually, one person from overseas somehow got the article. I remember that now, from Europe, and they wanted to fly over to see me. But I felt a different karmic connection as a tantric student, so I let them do it. but I didn't use it as advertising. It's a very subtle thing. Oh, hey, I saw you on the front page of the Australian Herald this morning. Now, if my mind is like, yeah, baby. Oh, you saw it? How wonderful. Maybe I act all humble. Oh, you saw that? Oh, yes. Anyway, we all must remain humble, and I'm like digging it like crazy. And I love the adulation inside. Very subtle, these things can be inside. This is purification. We have to be pure. Very important for protection and for your other person. Look, you're purifying yourself so you can work with someone else. You got to remember, you're going in with someone else who needs healing or curing. There's no place for you to be in there with your ego. Absolutely zero place for you to be there with your ego. You got no place to be there if you're in there. Same thing for spiritual teachers. Your ego comes into this. You're favoring one student more than the other just because they look like your old brother, or, you're thinking you're a great teacher and the student needs you. You're thinking that you give some level of saviorship, of salvation to people. You're thinking that you really help them. Help is to pity, meaning you don't think they're powerful enough to help themselves. Fixing them means you think they're broken. Serving is all there is for true spiritual teachers and true healers. So we have to be in this place, okay? And you're in that place, then you're going to be protected, Eves, unless it's this thing I talked about like this. You can't be a psychotherapist and get somebody in there that has demons familiarizing themselves with that person. Demons or ghosts, pishachas, vetalas, etc. These other categories of beings. Forget about normal psychotherapy. You don't even understand this, but shamanic level, okay? Tantric level. These beings exist. They hang around people. You have them coming in and they start telling you sociopathic thoughts and urges they have, and or don't even tell you, worse yet. They bring that whole circus with them. And if they are influenced, partially possessed, any of those categories from influence to partial possession, you are getting exposed to them. You're in that karmic field. Do you want that? So it's problematic when what we did in the West, we got rid of the shamans and we made psychotherapists. We got rid of the shamans and we made surgeons to do physical exorcism. We got rid of the shamans who knew how to put herbs in the blood and change the blood to change everything. And what did we do? We made medicines. And by doing that so-called specialization, we created a host of new problems, right? Problems caused by medicine itself. And those are only ones they recognize. There's problems that they don't even recognize, like when beings come along with things. In psychotherapy, sure, I see it a lot. And, I've met maybe on one hand, I can count the number of psychotherapists I've met that I think are sane, to be honest. And I know it's going to sound terrible and a lot of you guys are going to be offended, but maybe I have a high bar of sanity. That could be true. But the amount of phobias, the amount of locked in thinking, magical thinking, weird thinking, people giving therapy to people for problems that they have themselves that they haven't mastered yet. What? Just recently, someone I know was giving tremendous counseling, running groups for people that want to have better relationships. And like this person's relationship problems are huge. How can you run relationship trainings when you're all fucked up in relationships? I said the F word. Sorry. The New York has to come out now and then, guys. So especially when I get passionate about a topic like this, healer, heal thyself. Physician, heal thyself. Who said that? Some famous Greek dude? Exactly. You got to heal yourself first. Got to heal yourself first. It's like a phony martial artist teaching people self-defense. There was a kid in the gym the other day, this ex-Marine Corps soldier who I'm now teaching, who was teaching the lady behind the desk how to fight in a self-defense situation, behind the desk of all places, and at the gym. And he taught her to go for a double leg takedown, like to run straight into the guy, grab his legs, throw him on the ground, get on top of him and beat him up. And I looked at him, I said, have you ever had a fight? And he quickly realized what was going on. And we had a little quick conversation. And now he comes to the house for training. So, because that's a good way to tell a lady how to get killed, what he was telling this lady how to do, basically, real quick. Same thing with the healer types. It's the same thing. If you're a therapist and you have any of this stuff going on in yourself yet, like, why are you a therapist? Who could you help while you have this problem yourself? How could you speak authoritatively? How could you even feel honest about it? That's what I don't get. Right? I don't get that, man. I just don't get it. Call me old school, but I'm going to die happy without regrets and without being a faker. So that's all that matters. I hope you do the same. All right. You get it, Evie? All right. So, who is this? Carolina Motta. Will you teach any form of tantric healing in this first phase? No, that's second phase. That's why it's called shamanic healing, then tantric healing, then direct. Okay. Shamanico. I like how you spelled that. That's cool. And then we have Ingrid, iPhone of Ingrid. Okay. Number one, I know this does not qualify as shamanic practice, but since we are talking about healing, could you talk a little bit about what I think of homeopathy? It's not something I want to talk about a lot because we don't have a lot of time. Homeopathy might work. I'm not convinced yet. I'll leave it at that. I've taken that stuff all my life and never felt any effect at all. Then they say that's because you're too basic. You're too rooted in the earth. This is what they told me. Like, I'm a dummy, basically. I'm ignorant and I'm a dummy and I'm too in the earth. You say words like fuck and shit and ass. So obviously you're a low level being. And I go, okay. That's why homeopathy doesn't work for me. That's what the homeopaths say. So it's their science. Let them say it. I don't care. There's other ways to heal. I can't talk much about homeopathy. Probably a cool idea. They use it in Ayurveda. And we use it in yoga. Where is it in yoga? When we drink our pee. We drink a shot of midstream pee every morning, if you're a real yogin, and that takes the toxins that are coming out of your body as a homeopathic remedy to go back in and expunge more toxin. That's been told to me since the beginning of my yoga training. What do you think about illness that arise from spiritual attacks from other people? I think they're bad. Are all the diseases that arise our self-responsibility? No, that's new agey trippy. People, please don't new age yourself. If you come in this training, I'm going to teach you the real view, the real world. It's not mine. It's the old world. It's the way things really are. Everything is not your responsibility. Listen, everything your responsibility gets back to critical theory, which says that everything is a social construct based on postmodernism. That is not true. Sorry to make you freak out if you're a lefty progressive person and you love postmodernism and wokeism. It just isn't true, folks. No, you're not. To say, how do we say this? Are they your self-responsibility? Okay, one of the tenets of the New Age is, and you can read this in the book, The Self-Possessed, on my desk right here by Frederick Smith. We just went over it the other day in class, if you guys remember that. What was it? The New Age philosophy, the New Age view. You're responsible for everything. Some thought or the way you're thinking or how you're feeling caused this thing to happen in you, this disease. Yet, no, baby, that's not all there is to it. That's a very small part. Ayurveda lists that as one of the 8 reasons that we get ill. One of 8 reasons. Okay. One of 8. To make it all that and get into this, oh my God, how did I get cancer? What's my responsibility for that? Please don't do that to yourself. When I hear New Age healers say to the so-called healers, say to the people, oh, you have cancer? I'm so sad to hear that. What made you want to give that to yourself? Honestly, I have to hold every fiber of my being from not right hooking that person into another century, because that is just so wrong, rude, sad to put that trip on a person, but actually really wrong. If you had the right view, you would understand this. You see, they don't have any view. So Ingrid, don't trip on yourself like this. I know you came from the world of the New Age. You're coming into our tantric world. You can do it. You can do it. That stuff is wrong. That stuff is just plain wrong. There are times we get sick that we have no control over. There are times we get sick we have no control over. There are other beings that can cause it. There are environments that can cause it. I can take a shower, go out in the Maine weather, minus 30 degrees below zero, and I can get a cold simply because I didn't dry my hair. I guess that's in my control, but but there's others that are out of our control. There are genetic diseases that just pop off here and there. Not because your epigenome was triggered by sad thoughts or negativity in your mind, which happens. That does happen, of course. But because, like my brother and his wife moved into a apartment complex in Bayonne, New Jersey, and it was made with cinder blocks, like all the building was done in those days. Still, a lot of cinder blocks are used in building. And where was the material mined for that cinder block? From the ground, where it all comes from. Okay. Well, what was wrong with those cinder blocks? Those cinder blocks came from a ground that had a higher than usual amount of radon. You all must know about radon if you live in the countryside, right? So like up here in Maine, we have a lot of radon in the ground, getting the water supply, getting your air. There's acceptable limits. Radon will give you cancer. Radon will kill you. So was it my brother's self-responsibility? Was it his karma that he took an apartment in Bayonne where there was radon? Oh, should we wave some crystals over it? No. I mean, this is so stupid. Okay. So please get rid of all those crazy ideas. Can we also get sick when we receive bad energy from other people? Technically, yes, when you're weak enough. You remember this thing? You come together and whatever. So you've got to have purification through protection, purification, and strengthening. Base level. All yogins do this. All yogins do this. If you're practicing real Kundalini Hatha yoga, you do this. You do it a little bit if you just practice your Ashtangi and you get up and do your postures and feel strong. That's working out. That creates a certain amount of power. But it's not real traditional Kundalini Hatha yoga. It's not at all. Real traditional Kundalini Hatha yoga, you have protection first. You have mantras, you have visualizations. You start with mantra practice to protect. You might even start with nyasa, touching your body, making it divinized body, like we do in puja. That's how Hatha yoga started. And people don't do it anymore. So they have no way to protect. Then they have no way to purify other than, breathing a little bit or throwing up water once in a while, salty water. Purifying goes much deeper than that. And then strengthening, well, physically strong. I know a lot of physically strong yogins, but do they have that inner pranic strength? The Agni, the Bala, do they have that we get with Mahakumbhaka, that we get with being able to be unmoved by anything that occurs in our life? It doesn't make us react. That's strength, right? They don't have. Okay, Ingrid, I'll talk to you at Rushen this week. Como posso me prepare antes de... Wait, why are we writing in Portuguese? I can't read that.
No, if you click the reply,
Yeah.
I put the translation.
Where's the reply?
Or I can just read it.
Oh, you did already. I see. Thank you, Jamie. You're so good with all this IT stuff. Translation. How can I prepare myself before starting the program, considering this is a path which I desire and which is new to me? Okay. Read a bunch of the books I'm recommending. Rolling Thunder. Also read Lame Deer, Seeker of Visions. Lame Deer, Seeker. Should I type them all out? Is it better? Someone tell me. Otherwise, I won't type them.
Yes, it's better.
Did I give a book list out on this one time? I usually am giving book list out. Do that one. There's one done by a priest on Frank Fool's Crow. I can't remember the name of it, but it's so good. He actually documented Fool's Crow's method of doing a very powerful ceremony we would call a Gana Puja in Tantra. Frank Fool's Crow. I can't remember the name of the book. I wish I could. I can't. The Lame Deer Seeker of Visions is relevant because that's our lineage for shamanism. For most of what I learned, a lot of what I learned came through that direct line. And Frank Fool's Crow was also part of that line on the side, same tribe. So those are good to read to prepare, along with Rolling Thunder, Doug Boyd. I think it really helps to read this book if you really want to be good at shamanic healing. My finger's covering it. Frederick Smith, PhD. Self-possessed. You may find it difficult, but if you get through it, difficult doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. If you get through it and you get to the back chapter, this one is very good. the back chapter, which is really long, chapter 12. Can you see it from there? The medicalization of possession in Ayurveda and Tantra. So that is really good stuff. That will teach you a lot about what we're going to be doing in this course and so on, give you some background and view for it. Okay. All right. I'm over time, but I want to finish the questions if possible. How many are there? Oh, did I finish them? No. And Elisa, Rowan, Flora. Okay. I'm getting through it. Now we'll be done. If you have to go, I understand. Just come back and listen later. Probably be posted somewhere. Sarvaprem, is it going to be posted on the website for the Body Light Healing? Sarvaprem.
Yeah, we're gonna try to get the questions back to the people some way. We're not sure yet how, but it will. Yeah.
No, as long as this is posted, they can go on. But the website should have some facility where they can see it. Yeah. Watch it again. Record it. Okay. Jamie will help you with that. Jamie, IT
Listen for it.
master. Flora Barros, I recently had contact with a Tibetan teacher from a healing tradition. She said that Bon is the shamanic tradition of Tibet and that they have their own healing practices. Teach anything about Bon healing practice. This is look, I'm a Bumpo, so this is a very difficult thing for me to hear. Bon is not just the shamanic tradition of Tibet. That pisses me off when you hear Vajrayana people say this all the time. Now, maybe she didn't mean it only as that. And maybe your question doesn't get it quite answered here, doesn't get it quite right, or question doesn't get it quite right. But let me set the record straight. Bon is the original, don't call it shamanic, it's the original spiritual tradition of Tibet, including the lofty Dzogchen you've all heard about. It came from Bon. There are Vajrayana masters who are scientists and scholars of history who actually affirm that. One named Chogyal Namkhai Norbu, who nobody can argue with, says it explicitly in a book. The Bon had the original primitive version of Dzogchen. Yes, of course. And they had all the shamanic level of practice, and they had healing because they had shaman priests, and they had regular shamans. So Bon is a term that applies to all these different levels. So I just have to set that record straight because I always fight for the little guy, and I'm a Bumpo as well. So they got a lot of bad press over the years, and they're amazing people with an amazing tradition. Okay. That they have their own healing practices. They do. And they have more healing practices than the Vajrayana, still intact, because the Bon didn't try to hide its shamanic roots. The Bon celebrates its shamanic roots. So some Bon lamas you meet are really just shamans. They don't really have much success with deity yoga, pujas, mantra ceremonies. They're just really shamans. And that's where the difficulty comes to know who's who. Of course, they have all the high level stuff too, which the Vajrayana adopted from them actually as a foreign tradition coming from India to Tibet. But they have a lot more healing practice. Do I intend to teach any? Well, when we do the soul retrieval, that'll be a Bumpo version. So there may be others. I may teach a fair bit of the Bumpo. I know that I'll do a deity of healing from the Bumpo for sure, because I like it. And it's very powerful, and I received it. And I received it from the 33rd lineage holder of the Bon and the 34th, both. Is there any advantage or disadvantage to couples doing the training together? I would think only advantage. I think only advantage, Ron. Yeah, why not? I mean, my wife and I, no way I could do anything without her. She's awesome. And we practice together. We work together. And healing, and I'll tell you this too, Rowan, in your case, if your wife and you're into the healing stuff and you do sessions for people, it's more powerful with two. It's pretty rare that I'll do it. And if I have someone there who could assist equally as a peer, it's pretty rare. I'll say, nah, don't do this one because I think there's some specific karma, only me and this guy, Usually I say, yeah, the more powerful, the better service for the person, right? Will I teach chiropractic methods? Where's Mani Vajra? Is this coming from your boy? I have been waiting to teach good chiropractic adjustment methods to people who are ready for it and have the aptitude to do healing via manipulation of the channels through the hands. Chiropractic is manipulating the channels. Yeah, it's bones and nerves and yeah. But it was originally designed to manipulate the channels, the gross channels of prana through the hands. So that's how I learned it. That's what I do. I've been waiting to teach that forever to people who want to do it, who have good handedness. Most times they're martial artists. This inquiry is coming from a very, very experienced black belt Aikido person with some boxing background, et cetera, a good friend of mine and a student who I'll be teaching at his center that he shares with Manivajra. They both had the center together in Prague. In fact, on this next training, I should put this out. He'll probably kill me for this, but on this next training there on sleep, dream, and death yoga and some other things that we're going to be doing there soon, at nighttime, I'm going to split off and go with the Aikido school and teach them all the 5 element fist of Xingyi Chen, the 5 elements of Xingyi, the very, very famous, explosive, powerful, dangerous Kung Fu system called Xingyi. And I'm going to love it. So we'll do that at night to relieve the tension of sitting on our butts all day doing the other work. Those people will be good chiropractors, martial artists, but others too. So if the Lomi gets to the place, why Abraham really loved to teach me was because I was the only chiropractor in the group. No osteopaths, no physical therapists, only me. And I'm a chiro and a physio as well. So we used to get in there and geek out on the body in other ways, you know, with the techniques. So I love it. So I'll definitely expand that as part of bone setting that we do in Stav. The Stav bone setting is good. It's a little bit less subtle technical than chiropractic that I learned. It's a little bit more like I'm going to jam that bone in place, but it's good. And I'm going to teach that. I'll teach the chiropractic as well. Of course, you call it chiropractic and you're going to get in trouble for practicing without a license. So you call it bone setting or something. Vajradakini, I'm bumping the screen again. Oh man, I do so much. How do you recognize that you are truly in your power as a healing agent? Yeah, that's a big story. We'll get to that another time. First of all, you're going to see results. That's a big thing for me. Like saying you're a healer and then what? Like all these Facebook healers, I'd like to get 500 of them in a room and say, show me anyone who's healed cancer. I want to put your hand up. You know, we'll check with the person. Yeah, right. Sure you did. So that's how you know. First is, you know, money talks and bullshit walks, we used to say in New York. So basically you're healed or you're not. That's the number one. And then the other one is you're going to know it. If you do long enough training, you'll know that you're meant to be serving this way and that you're being used by something bigger, part of your essence, right? Anna, Rolling Thunder book, but what was the name on the book? Doug Boyd. I wrote that down. It's above this, 5 or 6 above this. You see Doug Boyd, B-O-Y-D. What was the name of the writer of the book? I don't know which question for which book, Srimata. But we wrote them all down. Oh, Doug Boyd, Jamie's on it. Great. Thank you, Jamie. Can you show my sword? Yes, I can, but show and tell is a bit too egotistical. Maybe you see it, you ever come to my house. In the trainings, I'll use all the toys for sure. I bring everything. Those sacred instruments are really important. And if I come to overseas, don't know how I'm going to get these on a plane, but I'll get them. I'll try to get them over there. I might have to develop another group of these instruments in Europe so I don't have to bring them back and forth. Title of the book was Rolling Thunder. Yes, yes, yes. Annalisa, when I get through my own illness, I've thought about working as a death doula, sitting with people who are dying with the Body Light program. Yeah, of course. That's a big part of what we'll be teaching as well. As we learn the yogic ways of dying, we'll do it for the Body of Light healing. Healing happens, and this is one last thing I should mention as a big principle, and then we got to get off. I have to go get the car service. Healing is different than curing. Curing goes into life. Curing goes into life. Healing goes also into death. So I'll just illustrate this. When I was as a physician, working with a few people that were dying in my history, right? Actually more than a few. I have a lot of karma with dying and the people dying. So they wanted me to work with them. I said, look, do you want curing or healing? They said, what do you think's possible? So I do an assessment. I take the pulses, I do the urine sample, I do all this kind of stuff. And I do all the oracles. And I say, look, it says probably curing is not the way to go. And why would I ever advise that? Because we need a certain type of prana, a certain quality of prana, and a certain quantity of prana to die correctly. It's not good to die in exhaustion. Modern medical methods only focus on curing into life. That means I'm going to do anything I can do heroically to try to keep you alive, no matter how much it debilitates you. Cut off your 2 arms, your legs. Now you're still alive. No more gangrene. But you got no arms or legs. I'd rather be dead. This kind of approach takes away that prana quality and quantity that you need to die properly, so you can incarnate properly when you go into the bardos. They don't understand that. Healing, you can heal into death. So for many, many clients, I would be working with them, and the apprentices I had at that time in California, they'd say, "Oh, I don't understand how this herb can help their condition so they'll get better." I said, "Oh, this herb doesn't help their condition to get better. This herb accelerates their condition so they can die better." They're like, "What? You're poisoning them?" I go, "Well, I guess from a Western standpoint, you go, that's poisoning. But from the Ayurveda world, where you want to make the person die a good life when you know they have no chance, get them out quick with good herbal understanding of how to do that, how to facilitate that, have them fast, have them take these herbs. Am I killing them? No. I'm accelerating the process of their death, which is inevitable for all of us, because they want to retain a certain amount of prana. And they want to go through the bardos in the right way. You see what I mean? So this is extremely important to understand between healing and curing. Okay. So Annalisa, that hopefully helps you with that, right? We're going to do that. Of course, we're going to cover that in great detail. Secret visions, full scroll. Katerina, is it hard to keep healing? Is it hard to keep healing? Coming back to current lifestyle, it is contagious. Katerina, are you here? And do you speak any English? Let's see if you left already. Katerina. I don't see any Katerinas. Am I missing her, Vajra? Do you see her hand waving anywhere?
She left. She left.
Does anybody understand this question? Is it hard to keep healing? Don't know what that means. Coming back to current lifestyle, it is contagious. I'm sorry, I just don't understand the question. Shambhavi, listening to all the part of this shamanic practice, I also hear Ming's voice. Just get people's digestions working again, as in keeping treatments simple. That was my approach in Ayurveda, Agni. In Chinese medicine, it's spleen school. In Ayurveda, it's the Agni approach. But in Chinese medicine, you have different schools. But in Ayurveda, you only have one, the Agni approach. That's it. You always want their digestion perfect first. That makes total sense. But that's a very limited modality. If that's all you have, basically, is to help someone's digestion, it's not going to work all the time. Yeah. So I would not focus only on that if I was going to be a health practitioner again. And I didn't when I was, so I wouldn't advise it. Cream left. Okay. She's gone. No more. We did it. We made it through them all. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being so kind and being patient. And I absolutely will handle any last live questions that you've been holding on for 1 or 2 more minutes if you have it. And then we'll call it a day. Let's see. Okay, people are already leaving. We're down to only 2 screens. All right, so we're good. Nobody's got a hand up. All right, well.
Dharma, sorry. Guya said she might come in. I was just speaking to her, but if not, I have her questions written down.
Go.
She said, what is the difference between Lomi and another type of massage? How does it heal? How does it heal more deeply?
Because of everything I said before about Lomi, she probably didn't hear the list in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's really different. It's so different. It's not a massage. It's a ritual. It's a ritual that uses your body, your speech, your energy, and your mind. And it does it in a ritual format, and it's gorgeous. And if you are a massage therapist, doesn't mean you're going to be great at Lomi. So don't worry about that. And if you're not, you still could be great at Lomi. So it's a matter of practice for the physical side of it, but it's a spiritual ceremony of complete transformation, activation of your enlightened ancestors, and a concretization of the connection to your nadi. And because of that, the universe floods you with prana, and then you get to be an old vigorous bugger like me doing things for people forever because the universe wants to help people. Right, Rowan? All right. You got any more there, Jamie?
Yeah, some you've already answered, but she said also, can you explain why the level of the light, can you explain why the light's level of healing is different from the shamanic one?
I don't know about light level. All I said was the shamanic level, tantric level, and then direct level, those 3 levels. So I'm not sure what she means by light, but body of light harkens back to the fact that we're all just light, to be honest. Everything is light. Even this is light. And, you know, it's a matter of, as we go through this training, you're going to attain the highest view. This path would also be a personal path of self-realization at the highest levels. I mean, what's the highest level healing I could possibly attain? A rainbow light body. Why? Not because of what it did for me. No, your mind's in the wrong place, in the gutter. Lift yourselves up. It's because I can bring 3,000 people with me into ultimate Buddhahood if I achieve rainbow light body. Now that's healing. Bring 3,000 people into ultimate Buddhahood if you attain rainbow light body. And here's a hint from my Scandinavian friends. It won't happen unless you train with a real Lama who knows real body of light teachings. There's a lot of shit going around in Scandinavia now that says body of light, body of light. Ain't going to happen. Trust me. So find the real thing, do the real thing. Now, that's the greatest healing I could do for everybody. About me, yeah, sure, I'm included, but this is what you want for everybody. This is the body of light healing is also taken from the inspiration, if you want to know, from Lima Lama. Lima Lama is a Samoan term that's also Hawaiian language, means hands of light. And some of the Lima Lama practitioners are martial artists and some are healers, some are both. And I've seen people do things like just touch points and put people under anesthetic where they can have operations on them just by touching points and bringing them back. So in Chinese, we like to say in martial art, dim mak, right? But it's the reverse of dim mak. So this was also inspiration for body of light healing. I thought of hands of light, but then my wife said, but you do more than with the hands. I'm like, yeah, okay. So body of light healing, back to the tantric view of it. All right, Guya. Okay. Any chance we're still able to catch up with the rest of the body of light if we miss Lummi retreat in September? Yeah. First 2 or 3 years, like I said, there are going to be many things offered that have no prerequisite. Just walk straight in. You're meeting me. You're learning about me. I'm learning about you. We're checking each other out. If it's a good fit or not. Can I stand this guy for apprenticeship? He's kind of rough around the edges. I don't know if I can deal with it. I'm very frail. I'm a vegan. He makes too many jokes about vegans. All right, then it won't work. But if you can laugh at yourself if you're a vegan, you can deal with my jokes and shoot back a carnivore joke now and then. And then we got it made. Match made in heaven. All right. In Brazil next year, we have a Lomi going, apparently. Is that right, Suka? All right. We don't know, but we know we have one in France for sure. That one's already on the books and registered. So Trini, I'm not going to say, yes, we have it in Brazil for sure next year. I don't know. Until the venue is booked, the money's down, blah, blah, blah. I've had a lot of things come and go in that world. But we do have it in France for sure. And if you want to accelerate your training, I wouldn't wait a year. I'm hoping that there's enough Brazilians to make a whole Brazilian group of 50 by themselves. It'll just be so much easier, I think, to work with. Little Yoav, look at little Yoav. All right. Okay, so that's it now. And again, I thank everybody. It was an amazing session. Your inspirations and questions brought out many things that I would never have thought to say. And that's the nature of apprenticeship training. You can all consider that part of the apprenticeship training. And I look forward to seeing you anywhere, this Bardo or another. And may you walk in peace and love and joy and serve all beings. And may that benefit yourself also. Sarva Mangalam. Sarva Mangalam. Sarva Mangalam. Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivoham. Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi.